Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Awakened His Sacred Gear in Childhood and Become the Strongest Part 4. Before we start, please go support Ryujin99 for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Issei is a male in this story. Chapter 24. Start the cap. It had already been 2 days since Loki attacked. Yesterday, the 2 celestial dragons along with 3 dragon kings invoked the dragon door. With this they called the consciousness of Midgardsormr, one of the dragon kings who still has his body. Thanks to him they were able to obtain information to fight against Loki and Fenrir. We are now in the basement of the Rivalry residence. Old Odin was able to obtain the replica of Mjolnir, the hammer of the Asgardian god of thunder, Thor, said Azazel. Lord Odin said that he would be fine in the hands of the Secretary. Oswis handed him a small hammer that had decorations on it. That's a bad idea, Issei said, denying the hammer. It's true, giving him such a powerful tool is a very bad idea, said Dahlia, earning a hey from the brunette. I say this because I only use the power of the Secretary. I wouldn't feel good using a weapon. Everyone stared at him when he said that. But you use a bow, said Riaz, remembering that the brunette had one. That was a gift, I couldn't refuse it, and I only used it when it was not necessary to have to use my boosted gear. I'm better at hitting, the brunette defended himself. And the Hakuryuku? Roswis asked the silver-haired boy who was reading his book. I don't use weapons, I only use the power of Hakuryuku and my demonic power, said Vali simply. Ah, what troublesome young people. Azazel sighed. Then only use it when you can't against it, Sona said to the brunette. How confident. But I have my pride. Issei crossed his arms, denying the hammer. He won't change his mind, he's very stubborn, said Dahlia, sighing. By the way, Biku, I have received a message addressed to you, said Azazel, remembering something. Eh? For me? Whose? Biku, who was eating a potato, pointed to himself. It's this. I will punish you as soon as I find you, was from the first one. It also seems that he is with you long, said Azazel, and Biku turned pale. I'm finished, that old man already found out that I'm a terrorist and he's even with you long. Biku threw his parents, which were caught by Issei, and he grabbed his head in fright. You're dead, that old man is scary for being so dwarf. Yulong is cool if you give him something to eat, Issei said calmly, gaining everyone's attention. Do you know him? Azazel asked, and that made Issei take a mental hit. Well. It was when I had a certain disagreement with a stalker. He was the one who took me out of that place, the brunette said vaguely. Biku, could we go to your home sometime? It might be interesting to meet Yulong, and the first generation of Sun Wukong. Vali spoke after hearing what the brunette said. No, leaving aside Yulong, who seems to be retired, the first generation guy is a real monster. He can still be considered active. That geezer has mastered Senjutsu and Jujutsu completely. I wouldn't even fight him, said Biku, scared by the idea that the silver-haired man had of going with his predecessor. While Biku goes on his rampage, let's focus on the plan. The strategy was made by the leaders of the Biblical Alliance. The strategy consists of waiting for Loki to appear at the place where the meeting will take place. Then the Sitri group will use their powers to transport those who will fight together with Loki and Fenrir. The location of the fight site will be in a stone mine. Those who will take Loki will be the 2 celestial dragons. Those who will take Fenrir will be the other members of the Rivalry nobility and Vali's team, who will use the chains to stop him. We just have to wait for us to get the chains from the Dark Elves, so what's left now is Saji. Azazel pointed to the peon Sitri. Me what? Asked the peon, confused. You will also be important for this strategy. You have Vritra's sacred gear after all, said Azazel with a smile, and surprising Saji that he began to get nervous. Wait a minute, I don't have an insane power like the Secretary or the Hakuryuku. I won't be able to fight against a god, and against Fenrir I thought I just had to transfer everyone along with Kaichu and the others. The peon Sitri spoke in panic. I know. I'm not going to tell you to fight on the front lines, but you're going to have to support your allies with the power of Vritra, especially the Celestials who will fight on the front lines. They need your help. Azazel approached to the pawn and put his hand on his shoulder. Help? The laborer asked doubtfully. For that you need a little training. There is something I want to try. Sona, I'm going to borrow this boy for a bit, said Azazel, praising Saji. Okay, but where are you taking him? Sona accepted and asked to Saji, surprised that he was going to run away, but Azazel didn't let him. I'm taking it to the Grigori Institute in the territory of the fallen angels of the underworld, Azazel said happily. But he passes by with that smile of pure joy. Issei thought, watching as Azazel dragged Saji while he screamed for help. Must be something related to Vritra, Braig said calmly. And you, won't you talk or fight verbally with Albion? No need. Issei shook his head with a slight smile. The dragon's way of talking about current affairs was rubbing off on him because of him. An hour had already passed since Azazel had taken Saji. Now the brunette was sitting in one of the armchairs in the VIP room of the Rivalry residence. He was thinking about how he would fight the god, he had no doubt that he would survive, he left him to his fate, but he felt unprotected without his card to defeat the god, losing access to the juggernaut left him defenseless against beings of great power. He had to complete those processes to access his possibilities of evolution, although he does not know what they are. Are you ready to fight? Issei jumped in surprise upon hearing that. Since when are you there? Issei shouted at a calm volley who had come out of nowhere. I was here the whole time. The silver-haired man commented, closing his book. Ah. I didn't realize, said the brunette, sitting down again. The room remained silent, Volley had turned his gaze away from him and the brunette sat more comfortably in the armchair. Will you tell me what you're planning? The brunette asked the silver-haired man who stopped seeing his book. What makes you think I'm planning something? Lucifer asked curiously. Arthur had ruler in his case, he only leaves her in sight when he is gathering aura to use his domination. If my theory doesn't fail, you plan to take a pet, said Issei, making the silver-haired boy smile slightly. It shows that you know him well. Congratulations, you got your theory right. Now, what will you do? Lucifer asked curiously. Nothing. I already accepted this suicide mission, but now that I know that at some point you will leave me alone with a god. I think you will be left without this super rival, hahaha, said Issei carelessly. You're my rival, a simple god will not kill you, said Volley calmly. Many expectations to meet. Issei got more comfortable on the couch, while Volley appeared a magic circle different from the one he uses. Asgardian magic. Have you already learned it, tch? Damn talented. Issei complained when he saw how Volley could learn magic in such a short time. Don't complain that you have those runes, said Volley, undoing the magic circle. Envious Volley narrowed his eyes at the brunette for saying that. As far as I remember, I had this book long before you put on those runes, the silver-haired man defended himself. There are no witnesses, the brunette said quickly. Yes, there are, the silver-haired man counterattacked. Nope, said Issei. Yes, said Volley. They both looked challenging, it seemed like a fight would start at any moment, but someone interrupted them. Yes. It is certainly wonderful. I can feel the youth of you two. The one who spoke, interrupting the imminent fight, was Odin, with Dahlia and Roswis coming, the older Valkyrie denied seeing the brunette's behavior. The red and white of this generation are unique. Those of the past were beasts. They fought everywhere, they started fighting, destroying everything in their path and died. They activated the juggernaut drive as they wanted. Just think of how many islands and mountains were destroyed, the god said again. Certainly, they are both or were terrorists, but they are both calmer than I thought. I thought they would fight right away like the previous Ekaryutes and Hakaryukas, commented Roswis. I want to clarify that at no time did I commit a terrorist act. The brunette defended himself. It's true, Issei is too idiotic to plan a terrorist attack, said Dahlia, making Roswis and Odin laugh. Sorry for being an idiot, commented the brunette. On the other hand, what parts do you like? The god asks, confusing both celestials. What are you talking about? Volley asks, scratching his head, and Issei nodded, also curious. Odin simply smiles and points at Roswis's breasts, his butt, and then his legs. What part of a woman do you like the most? Odin asked, earning a hit from Roswis. I feel like if I answer something bad could happen, said Issei, a little hesitant to answer. I'm not interested, Volley simply ignored the god's question. As I thought, young people are good, but very picky, Odin commented, sighing tiredly. Don't sigh too much, it could be the last one, the brunette said mockingly, earning a slap from Dahlia. Ho, this old man still has a while, although this old man in front of you has not been able to solve anything with his wisdom. But you know. That is only the honor of an old man. What really matters are the possibilities of the young people. Ho, I started meditating now, so I was foolish. My pride gave birth to Loki, and now because of my pride, the young people will have a battle, Odin said as he stroked his beard. Everything calmly, let us young people prove our worth, step by step, said Issei in a carefree manner. But Odin smiled as if he had found an answer. That's right, step by step, said Odin smiling. It was already night in the city of Kuo, in a VIP hotel. Odin was looking at the night through his window, thinking about everything that had happened so far. Hey old man. The meeting is almost beginning. Consequently, our preparations are advancing as well. The one who spoke was Azazel, who entered the Norse god's room with some bottles. What's wrong? You're making a serious face, that's rare for you, the fallen man asked when he saw the god's expression. I began to think that my ways of governing are causing problems for my people and the young people here, said Odin. I hated the Norwegian boys who had the old ways of thinking and shunning themselves without doing anything. But it's over now. The chief of the gods himself came on stage. You came to us, who are trying to make the cooperation with all other factions, said Azazel, standing next to the god and admiring the views. I am an old man after all. Sometimes I feel bad listening to the thoughts of young people, also thinking about the future of the young people in my world. I started to think that I have to prepare a new path for them, he said. The god expressed. Try to make that walk a reality, old man. You came here to talk to the Japanese gods for that very reason, right? You were qualifying this country by virtue of your religion, while saying that you were looking at its surroundings as a form of tourism. So we have to finish the meeting safely. We will help you with this, said Azazel, smiling slightly. I know, so you don't need to tell me. I'll make you stay drinking sake with me today, young man, said Odin, taking one of the bottles that the fallen man brought. That's the spirit, shouted the fallen. There are no changes to the processes. Issei sighed in frustration upon hearing the seer report. He was inside the boosted gear, looking at the door where his key was for his evolution possibilities. I told you to let him appear before you, don't rush him. Elsha appeared next to the brunette. I know. But I need more strength for when I face Loki. In my current state I will barely survive, said the brunette, squeezing her fists. Don't worry. You always manage to overcome everything. Believe in yourself and you can do it, said Elsha, smiling as she took the brunette's hands. Believe in myself. I don't even know what I am anymore, the brunette whispered, but Elsha managed to hear him. You are Hyoudou Issei, the least talented and strongest Sekiryu of all. You are a young man with your problems, but you know who you are, don't forget it, Elsha said, smiling. I hate when you talk like that, I almost never understand you, said Issei with a poker face, earning a hit from the woman. I missed adding the most idiotic one too, said Elsha, sighing. It is what it is. Issei shrugged his shoulders. The Phoenix Tsundeer is calling you. Issei sighed upon hearing Drake, looked at Elsha, nodded at her and left the mental space. Issei opened his eyes and in front of him was Revel dressed casually with an apron. What's wrong? You know it takes me a while to get out, the brunette asked, getting up from his bed and stretching. The food is ready and there are guests. The Phoenix warned and said the last thing with annoyance. Guests? He asked curiously. See for yourself, the Phoenix said without further ado as she left the room. The brunette left his room and went down to the living room. He went to the dining room and there was the entire Grimoire and arena entourage, all crowded at the small table. Who invited you? Revel, bring the hose, said Issei with a poker face. On Issei-kun, we are going to a difficult battle and it is good to interact between the participants so that we can work well. Irina quickly intervened seeing how Revel was going for a hose. Many demons in this house, it's not a good omen, said Issei, sitting as best he could at the table. That offends, said Riaz under her breath. But I'm an angel, Irina shouted, showing her wings. Well done, now the food will taste like feathers. Issei sighed as he moved away Irina's wings that were in his face. At Issei-kun, the angel shouted. Dinner was served, everyone ate while talking carelessly, all in front of Issei who was silent throughout the meal. Obviously they tried to get him into the conversation, but he didn't say anything and continued eating. They act very carefree knowing that tomorrow could be the end. Are they just as crazy as me or are they really confident? Issei smiled slightly at that thought. Everything was peace and tranquility in the Grimoire residence. The members of the Grimoire Nobility Plus Arena had just arrived from their school day. That day would also be the day of the meeting between Odin and the Japanese gods and, consequently, the confrontation against Loki. We have to prepare things, the school trip and the club festivals are approaching. Riaz commented with a sigh. Doing the same thing as last year, but better will be entertaining, said Akeno, a little more animated after reflecting on her situation with the Sekiryute's words. Ugh. I don't want to be with so many people. Gasper spoke a little scared. Haneko was going to say something to Vladi, but suddenly the entire residence shook. An attack. Zenobia summoned Durandal and Hyoudou her sacred demonic sword. Don't worry, it's just a heavenly training. The young people saw Biku running to the basement with a lot of food in his hands. The Grimoire Group Plus Arena blinked in confusion and quickly headed towards the basement. When they arrived they saw that Azazel, Dolly along with her daughter, Vali and Barakiel's team, saw how Issei and Vali were fighting. Oh. They're here. Azazel greeted the newcomers and quickly returned his sights to the combat. Why are they fighting? Riaz asked worriedly. No, it's just training. Or so they said, Azazel responded somewhat nervously, watching how both celestials made the entire place shake. We will have to tell the demons to make the barrier and the foundations of the place stronger, commented the fallen man with a nervous smile. The runes work well, said Dahlia, looking analytically at the shield that surrounded Issei after Diwali attacked with Nordic magic. How long have they been like this? Hyoudou asked curiously. 3 hours. Roswis responded, surprised by the combat. That surprised the newcomers. Hey, you two, leave something for the showdown. Kuroka was the one who shouted and both celestials stopped. He was getting busy, said Issei, coming out of his balance breaker without any injury or trace of fatigue. What's up with that resistance? Are you really human? Biku was surprised by the brunette's state. It almost moved me. Vali was also fresh as a lettuce and without injuries. Everyone looked at both celestials in surprise. Well, almost all of them, since Vali and Dahlia's team were used to it. To confirm. Did they use their abilities? Riaz asked curiously. Nope, it was just the normal balance breaker. Volley wanted to try Nordic magic, and I took the opportunity to see if the runes were useful. Good job, Issei responded, and then he raised his thumb to Dahlia and Roswis, who only nodded with a smile. Very good, it's almost time, rest as much as you can from now on, said Azazel, and everyone nodded, except Volley and Issei, who were smiling slightly. Even though they don't have the necessary strength or any advantage that would give them an instant victory, they are both excited. They were Azazel's thoughts looking at both Celestials. It was time. The city of Kuo was already dark, only illuminated by the artificial lights. On the roof of a hotel specially prepared for important people, there was a group of young people and some adults. These were the Gremory group, Irina Shidu, Barakiel and Roswis. Far from them was Volley's team, and this same one, above the clouds, was the Dragon King, Tannen. Next to him was Issei with Drake's wings. Around the roof were members of the Citri nobility, although there is no sign of the bearer of Ritra. Inside the hotel, the meeting between the God King of Asgard and the Japanese gods was taking place. The leaders of the Biblical Alliance were acting as intermediaries. Dahlia was there as Odin's secretary and in charge of the barrier that surrounded the place. It's time, said Riaz seriously. Everyone was attentive to any event. It's coming directly. Through the communicator that the entire group had, the voices of Issei and Volley were heard. Space distorted and Loki and Fenrir appeared. Target in sight, start the operation. Barakiel gave the signal, and a large magic circle formed around the entire place. Loki smiled confidently when he saw this and let the magic circle transport him. Well. Here you don't have to worry about destroying anything. Issei took a quick look at the battlefield, it was just a few small stone mountains. Far away, on the right side, was the Gremory group, and Arena, on the left side was Volley and his team. The brunette watched as Volley slowly advanced towards the god. Without wasting time, he did the same. So you're not running away. Volley commented once he was close enough to the god. There is no need for me to run away. You will all take revenge anyway, so I will be able to finish all of you here and then return to the hotel. It is only a matter of time. Even if he participated or not in the meeting, I will make Odin disappear, said the god calmly. I thought you would go with tricks and stuff, said Issei standing next to Volley. It's not necessary. None of you will be able to do anything to me, nor will I give you time to enter that famous Juggernaut drive, answered the god with a half smile. You are very confident, said Volley calmly. Make no mistake, Hacker Yuiku, I am only sure that my power is superior to his, the god answered simply. You are involved with dangerous thoughts. Barakiel took a step forward saying that. The first to have a dangerous idea was his side. An alliance between each of the factions. First of all, since the three great factions recorded in the Bible decided to have an alliance, everything went wrong, Loki said seriously. It seems that you have no intention of speaking. Barakiel began to cover his hand with the holy lightning. From his back, 10 black wings appeared. Well. Maximum effort, said the brunette as a red aura surrounded him, and Volley did the same. Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker. Vanishing Dragon Balance Breaker. Both Celestials entered Balance Breaker. Both red and white were surrounded by an intense aura that made everyone tense and made Loki smile. This is wonderful, so the two celestial dragons will join forces to defeat the god of evil. My heart has never beaten like it does now, Loki shouted, raising his arms in celebration. There was no verbal response from the dragons, they just launched themselves directly towards the god at maximum speed. Volley was in the air and Issei in front at medium height with their thrusters at maximum. Loki smiled when he saw that. He created a large magic circle and was also surrounded by a barrier. Let's start slow. Saying that, Loki launched thousands of magic projectiles towards both celestials. Volley avoided them by zigzagging through the air, showing off his speed and agility, while as for Issei, the brunette simply continued advancing, while the runes did his work. The first to arrive was Issei, using the momentum of his thrusters and the reinforcement runes, he hit the god's shield with brutal force, the shield succumbed to the great strength of the chestnut. Issei did not waste time and began to hit the god. He has magical attacks, his strength is not melee, but still. Issei was skilled in combat, it was not that he had a defined style, but rather he was one that adapted to the situation. But in this situation, the god defended himself against all blows with his divine speed. Back. Issei quickly distanced himself upon hearing Dryag's warning. Half a second later, a large mass of demonic power impacted the god, causing a large explosion. You knew I would move. Right. Said the brunette to the silver-haired boy who was still looking at the result of his attack. The Haha splendid, the Hacker Yuiku is fast and skilled in magic, the Seker Yuite is resistance and brute force. It seems that I will have to eliminate the Seker Yuite first, as it is the easiest. Loki was unharmed by Volley's attack, the only thing that his clothes were damaged. Are you making me less? Zephilic god, said Issei, angry because the god was underestimating him. Loki was going to speak, but an attack hit him. It was Barakiel and Tannen who had combined fire and holy lightning. Annoyance. Fenrir. Loki emerged unharmed from the attack again and called to the wolf. Finish them, ordered the god, and Fenrir attacked. Some magic circles appeared around Kuroka and large chains came out of them. Quickly, Tannen and Barakiel grabbed the chains and threw it at Fenrir. Those chains were no longer useful. Loki remained silent as he watched Fenrir succumb to the chains. Without wasting time, those who had not yet attacked began to bombard the motionless wolf. "We will stop him, you go against Loki," Tannen shouted. Boost 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 boost. Issei increased his power and launched himself at the god, who seemed not to mind that Fenrir was immobilized. The brunette was about to land a blow on Loki's face, but he simply vanished. An illusion. Surrounding Issei, there were 10 Locus who appeared in magic circles and began to bombard the brunette. "Stay still," Loki said, away from the chestnut tree that was still holding on to the bombardment. "Their abilities are not the same. But they will serve on Loki's sides." Some distortions appeared, and from these 2 wolves emerged. They were equal to Fenrir, but the size was smaller. "Skoll Hati, free your father," the god ordered, and both wolves went against his father's opponents. Burst. A great explosion of power occurred where the chestnut tree was and the attacking illusions disappeared. "Don't just stand still and do something," an annoyed Issei shouted at Vali, who was floating in the air looking everywhere. "He won't do anything, he fell into my illusion," Loki commented, smiling. "TCH. Issei went at high speed towards Vali, who began to punch the air, but an attack from Loki blocked his way. "You said I made you less, but you're going to help your rival, what? You can't face me alone," Loki said calmly. "Do not fall for his provocations, he will take advantage of them." Issei launched himself directly at the god as he gathered power. Loki waited patiently for the brunette, but he simply fired a dragon shot towards Vali. Disappointing," said the god, sighing at the brunette's action. Issei's shot hit Vali and created a medium explosion, causing him to return to his senses. "Hey you idiot," with the air of a miracle, "did you enjoy your moment of rest?" said the brunette, seeing that Vali began to move. "TCH. I won't thank you." Vali began to shoot towards the god, who simply released his power, thus undoing the attacks. "Do you remember what we almost caused on the day of the meeting?" Issei said without taking his eyes off the god he was waiting for calmly. "And what good would that do for us? We'll just leave him motionless for a few moments and then..." "Wait a moment," Vali questioned the brunette's idea, but then thought about it. "We are going to sabotage their power control, dividing and increasing at the same time. It will be temporary since your division is not yet strong enough, but it can give us an advantage," said Issei, and Vali nodded, somewhat annoyed that the brunette told him that his division skill was useless, but he understood. "You're not such an airhead," Vali commented, preparing himself. "You're an idiot," said Issei, also getting ready. "Let's go now," they both shouted. Vali flew quickly on the right side and Issei did the same on the left side. "Don't you understand that you have no chance against a god?" said Loki calmly. "Don't underestimate us," shouted the brunette, already in position. Now Vali shouted, spreading his wings. Half-increased dimension. Both opposing techniques were activated and concentrated in the direction of the god, who began to feel the pressure of space. "What is this?" Loki was alerted when he felt how he could not move due to the pressure exerted by both celestials. Space began to distort around the god from the clash of both opposing techniques. The crazy idea that can destroy space itself and possibly time. Only you can think of these things. Dryag thought about the possibilities of that combination of techniques. If he turned out well, Loki would suffer motor losses due to the pressure exerted by the clash of techniques and an imbalance in his power, as it was constantly increasing and descending. The space seemed like it was about to collapse, but the technique suddenly unraveled and a scream was heard. Vali had been bitten by a freed Fenrir. Issei deactivated his technique and went towards Vali to free him. Issei was about to hit the wolf, but it moved at divine speed, with Vali still in its jaws, and hit it with one of its paws and sent it flying to a distant mountain. "My left side is weak. I can barely move my arm, and my power finds no middle ground. How monstrous both celestials are together." It was fortunate that Fenrir freed himself. For a moment I thought he would succumb. Loki was breathing a little hard due to the effort he made to withstand the pressure of both Issei and Vali's techniques. The mountain where Issei crashed exploded, and a red dot was getting dangerously close to Fenrir, which had knocked out Tannen in a few minutes. "I'll have to use them until my power is restored." Some shadows came out from between Loki's clothes. There were 5 in total, and they were enormous, the same size as Tannen. Copies of Midgardsormr. Tannen, recovered by Phoenix's tears, rushed towards the copies. "I hate being sent me flying." One of the copies was in Issei's path, and it was crossed by the chestnut tree. "Hyoudou Issei. It's time," Vali shouted as best he could as his aura suddenly increased. Now Kuroka the aforementioned smiled and began to make symbols in the air. A large magical circle appeared below Vali and Fenrir as the silver-haired man began to whisper something while a white glow surrounded him. "I, the one who awakens." Vali was reciting the Juggernaut Drive chant of him. "Kill him," Fenrir, Loki ordered, but it was too late. Vali and Fenrir had disappeared. Take advantage of his brief shock and attack him. Issei wasted no time and rushed towards Loki, who was still resentful of the technique. Loki was unable to react in time and began receiving Issei's combos, which were boosted by his power and the momentum of the runes. This insignificant being. This disgusting dragon thinks he can beat me, a god. A burst of power pushed the brunette away. Loki had let out his power, but at the same time generated an explosion. His power has not yet been restored. He will hurt himself like now if he doesn't fix it. Take advantage of it. Boost 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 boost. Issei increased his power and sent it to his central gem. Flare. A torrent of fire shot out from the central gem of the chestnut tree that engulfed the god who had not yet recovered from the explosion. Tannen shouted the chestnut tree, and the only thing he received in response was a great flame, much larger and hotter than the chestnut trees. Oswis, who had taken care of the copies of Midgardsormr, helped the Dragon King with reinforcement magic. A loud explosion was created where Loki was. Issei was breathing a little hard. Fenrir's blow had gone through his armor, and he was forced to use the phoenix tear that had been given to him, but it didn't recover enough. The Keno was heard the scream of Rias, who had flown towards the aforementioned to help her with one of Fenrir's sons. Help her, said the brunette without taking his eyes off where Loki was. Barakiel did not hesitate for a second and went with his daughter. Will you be okay? Oswis asked. No. But I will live, the brunette responded, controlling his breathing. Oswis was going to say something, but she was quickly pushed away by Issei. The Valkyrie compassed herself and looked at the brunette again due to the sudden action. When she did so, she was surprised to see how an ice stake was embedded in the brunette's right shoulder. Sekiryu. The smoke from the previous explosions had cleared and revealed Loki, or what he looked like. Now his skin had turned blue with black marks, the top part of his clothing had disappeared, his eyes had gone dark. Turned red and showed a look of fury. Ice giant. The true form of Mr. Loki, Oswis whispered in surprise. What happened to that confident look? Issei slowly removed the stake, he was bleeding a lot. Oswis, seeing that, did not hesitate to use her magic to stop the bleeding. I'll be fine, help the others and finish off Hadi and Skoll, the brunette spoke seriously. I stopped the bleeding, hold on until then. Oswis quickly left with the demons and the fallen one to help. Well. Shall we continue? Issei repaired her armor and raised her guard with her only functional arm. Sekiryu, a large pillar of ice, shot towards the chestnut, who dodged it and began to fire the dragon shot at him. On the other hand, Rias had arrived in time and was able to help his queen. Hold it for 10 seconds, ordered the retreat as she accumulated the power of her detraction between her hands. Akeno, she gritted her teeth, closed her eyes for a moment and then opened them with determination. The Gremory queen gave a war cry, a fallen wing emerged from her back and electricity concentrated around her. The holy ray was shot at Hadi. At first she had no effect, but another holy ray hit the wolf. It was Barakiel who joined with her daughter to attack. Irina joined the attack with Kaneko launching blasts of Senjutsu. Elsewhere, Hyoudou and Zenobia were fighting Skoll with the support of Biku, Kuroka, and Tannen. Your turn. Knight Biku had left the wolf wounded and gave Hyoudou an opening to deliver the final blow. Hyoudou did not waste the moment, he went at maximum speed and, using his sacred gear, impaled the wolf. His resistance is not compared to his father. But he is resistant, said Zenobia, a little agitated, seeing how Skoll was still alive. Naya, he won't move anymore, said Kuroka. Returning to Rias and the others, in the Redeed's hands, was a small sphere of power of destruction. It was the size of a softball. My turn, shouted the Redeed. Barakiel, Akeno, Oswis, Irina and Kaneko had moved away from the wolf, who was a little dazed by the continuous attacks. Rias launched his attack. When he was centimeters away from the wolf, it expanded to about 20 meters. The ground had disintegrated, leaving a perfect circle, and inside it was a wounded and unconscious Hadi. It's not ready yet. I couldn't destroy it. Rias was breathing heavily after using his biggest attack. It was simple but very effective. Oswis sealed Hadi and then went towards Skoll to do the same. They had won against the sons of Fenrir. They were all wounded and tired, but they could still fight. But you? Rias turned to look at his tower. It was pointing in a direction where many explosions and smoke could be seen. It was where he could sense Issei and Loki. We have to go support Issei-kun, said Irina, preparing to go. Right. Issei dodged an ice spear and fired his dragon shot, and it didn't hit anything but the ground. He's been doing this for a while. The god created smoke that prevented him from seeing, and the explosions from his own attacks didn't help much. You. Do. Gala. To your title. Issei was bleeding from one of his eyes, left leg and right shoulder. Hamon Sekiryu, that's all the great dragon of domination and destruction can do. The voice of a recovered Loki was heard in the surroundings. Show your blue face and I'll show you, said the brunette, narrowly avoiding another spear. That's not fun, Loki was heard again. You have to get out of here or you'll keep getting hurt. Elsha spoke seriously. Issei had already lost a lot of blood. She is holding on because of his resistance, adrenaline and his pride. I'm not staying here because I want to. Ag damn, a spear had pierced the brunette's right thigh, causing him to fall to his knees. Ahaha, that, kneel as it should be, Loki appeared in front of the brunette with an ice spear in hand. You fell from the central gem of his armor, a large shot came out that Loki received squarely. Pathetic, the attack had no effect and he earned a kick to the face that sent him flying out of the smoke. Ah, how disappointing. I admit that technique you did with the hacker Yuiku affected me, and for a moment I lost control. Loki advanced while he stopped using his true form, and his clothes were repaired again. But you don't have enough power to face me. I would let you use your juggernaut, but that would give me the disadvantage. Hahaha, I better eliminate you, and then go for my son. Loki looked amusedly at Issei who was lying in front of him. Ah, everything hurts. Although if I can get rid of this pain, dying won't be so bad. I'll be able to see Eve, and I won't have to worry about surviving anymore. My parents are fine, they won't be in danger anymore if I'm not. Yes, it's better this way. Issei closed his eyes waiting for the final blow. Are you giving up already? How pathetic. Oh? You again. It's a little late to know who you are, I'm about to die. Said the brunette. Issei opened his eyes, he was no longer in front of Loki, now he was in a dark place. You can't do anything right, always putting yourself down and blaming yourself for everything, that's why you ended up like this. The same voice was heard through the dark place. It is what it is. The brunette answered simply. Always the same answer, can't you think of anything else other than that? That's why Eve was so angry with you. She was always angry. Wait, Eve. Issei was confused when he heard what the voice said. Did it catch your attention? In front of the chestnut tree he appeared. Him. He was him, but his eyes were black and he smiled funny. Speechless. Okay. This is the weirdest thing that happened to me so far. Issei was really surprised that he even forgot that he was about to die. The strangest thing so far is your luck to attract all kinds of beings, especially with that crazy semi-dose. The Issei. Black. He replied as he crossed his arms. I agree. Issei nodded to what Black Issei said. Well. Since you surrender, I will take your life. Black Issei began to stretch at Issei's curious gaze. What do you mean? Asked the brunette. Since you gave up, I will take your life, give that demigod what he deserves, and then wait for another candidate. Black Issei answered nonchalantly. I don't understand. Issei tilted his head in more confusion. He forgot what an idiot you are. You will simply disappear and I will be left with your life. Black explained simply. Ah. And what exactly you are, I still don't understand. Issei scratched his head in confusion. I'm the boosted gear moderator. Ah. You know me as the curse of the juggernaut drive. Issei was surprised to hear that. Moderator. Damn. These are very complicated things. Hadn't the curse disappeared a long time ago? Issei still didn't fully understand. But you believe that a curse created by Elohim can be removed by just some false promises and a purification of a human? How silly of you. No, I think I should have expected that from you. Black said simply. I promise I'll show you the future. I really thought you would, that's why I let you use a minimum of what you call juggernaut drive. But they were just empty words. Black showed a look of disappointment. Ah, that. I was a fool at that moment, I thought I could do it, but everything went wrong, said the brunette, lowering his head a little. Are you regretting your words? The others, your beloved senpais must feel disappointed, but Belzerd and Elsha, the two of them plus the fool Viriano, were the only ones who did not succumb to my test. Issei looked away, he really would have liked to be able to fulfill his words. Since you don't say anything, I will proceed to split your soul, lock it with the others, and reactivate the punishment mode on the remaining souls. Don't worry, nothing will happen to Elsha. Well, for now, since she has little time left. Black approached the brunette and put his hand on his chest. Wait. Issei walked away from Black quickly. Now what? Let me do it quickly so I can go back to sleep. What do you mean by the above? That's a punishment, and that Elsha has little time left, asked the brunette, curious about the senpais's mention of him and Elsha. He forgot that you don't know the punishment way. They will fall back into ruin and return to how they were before you said your false promises, and as for Elsha, she has already served her time here. It's time for her to rest, she deserves it after so much time as Belzerd. He explained calmly. Why? Take my soul but leave them as they are. I can't stop Elsha. I agree with her resting, but the rest don't deserve to go back to that state. Issei did not agree with what Black said. They will return to their punishment for falling into power. I'm also doing them a favor, so they don't think about your silly promise, and it's not like you care much about them. A few moments ago you said you wanted to die. Issei remained silent. It was true, he had surrendered to Loki without trying to continue. Even so, don't do that to them. They don't deserve to go back to that state, the brunette replied again. How annoying, let me do my job. Black approached the brunette again, but he moved away again. I won't leave you, I won't let them fall into the curse again, the brunette said seriously. And what will you do? You are pathetic, you don't know what to do, you are alone, you cry for your mistakes, and when someone tries to help you, you just push them away. Stop bothering and die once and for all. Issei gritted his teeth, Black was right, he was pathetic. But still. Yes, I'm pathetic. But this pathetic guy won't let his senpais fall into the curse again, do whatever you want with me, but don't do anything to them, Issei showed a look of determination. Why would he have to do it? You can't do anything before me, do you think that by avoiding me you can save them? Right now you are in my hands, I only do this to see your reaction while you are destroying everything in the real world. Black moved his hand and an image appeared, it was him and his juggernaut drive chasing Loki who had returned to his true form, away from them were the Rivalry group plus Arena, Tannen, Brachial and Roswis, they saw how he was fighting like a beast. As a last act one will let you eliminate that demigod, I cannot let my creator's dream not be fulfilled due to the whim of that demigod. Look, that demon and angel are crying. The image focused on Riaz and Arena, both crying after Tannen said something to them, apparently explaining what the juggernaut was doing. Love. So simple and complex at the same time. I will stay away from her so she is not in danger and she forgets about me, your thought when you recognize that you felt something for the demon. She can't love me, she is an exorcist, they kill children and innocent people and only think about their faith, your thoughts when you see how that angel's feelings still lived in her heart. Ah, how fun love is. Too bad the object of that feeling is a depressive idiot. Black let out an amused laugh as Issei tried to contact Dryag or someone to take control. It's useless, they won't listen to you. I told you, I'm in control. And why do you want to have control? You had already given up and you will kill the demigod that bothered you so much. It was true, he had already given up. Issei stopped trying to communicate and just looked at the images that Black was showing. Loki seemed desperate, the juggernaut drive had appeared without the chant and now he was forced to flee from that being without reason. Life expectancy dropped to 5 years and continues to drop, oh. Check it out. The image changed, now showing Riaz with her gloves and boots, flying towards where he and Loki were, followed by the rest. What are they doing? They will be hurt. Issei was alarmed by what the group was doing, even Tannen was approaching. It seems like they want to support you. Oops, there goes 2 more years. Issei watched as Riaz began to launch ranged attacks against Loki, the god dodged them, but was soon hit by the attacks of the other young people, Tannen, Roswis and Brachial also attacked, but none of them waited for Issei to start attacking everyone. They thought you had it under control. Black commented calmly. Hey, you're the one who controls this, don't attack them, said the brunette angrily. I just activated rage mode and I don't control it, what guides it are your primitive battle instincts, in other words, you are the one who is attacking. Issei gritted his teeth, she had to do something. She had to help them. Why do you insist on helping them? I understand that you want to help that demon and the angel, but the rest? Black asked, curious about the thoughts Issei had. They didn't do anything to me. They fight for a goal and I'm no one to hinder them, that's why I want you to stop and don't harm them, just attack Loki and then everything is over, the brunette answered seriously. Black remained silent as he observed the brunette's gaze, in it he saw determination, concern and decision. 1 minute, that time is how long you can last, in that time you will have what you could have achieved if you had not lost your path, finish off that demigod and then everything will end, your soul will be fragmented, you will be tormented with the way punishment instead of your senpai, is it understood? Issei was surprised by Black's sudden change. Understood, said the brunette. Black snapped his fingers and Issei disappeared. Why give him a chance to enter that mode? The light appeared next to Black, it was Sia. Her look was almost the same when he made his promise. It may be that the candidate who once showed me that there was a future is still alive. But it doesn't matter anymore. Issei was trying to make the brunette regain his senses. Tannen had told her that this form used the user's life as an impulse. Issei was a human, and that form would kill him immediately. Stay away, let him chase Loki, said a tired Tannen. But. Irina tried to reply but fell silent when she saw how Issei stopped moving. Is your time up? Loki said, watching as Issei began to shrink and return to his balance breaker. Issei? Dryag asked. I'm back. We have to finish this. Where were you? You were gone for almost half an hour. Not now, Elsha. Issei took off his helmet and turned to the Rivalry group, Irina, Roswis, Brachial and Tannen. A little away from them was Bhikkhu and Kuroka, who looked at the brunette seriously. It seems that they noticed his lack of vitality. Get out of here, I'll finish off Loki, the brunette said seriously. What are you saying? I won't leave you alone, Riaz replied. The brunette could see Riaz's determined look, then he went to see the rest and also saw that they were also going to help. Irina, I suddenly called the brunette with pigtails, who looked curiously at the brunette. I'm sorry for telling you those things in the desert, they weren't true, I still considered you my friend. A somewhat crazy friend, but my friend nonetheless. Irina blinked in confusion at what Issei told her. What are you saying? I knew that the Issei-kun I know wouldn't say that, there is nothing to forgive, said the angel smiling. Issei smiled, then turned his gaze to Bhikkhu, who understood the brunette's silent request. Well. It's time to end this, said Issei, reaching towards Loki, who had not done anything in the time the brunette spoke. Issei. Your life. I know, Dryag. Elsha, Senpais. I'm sorry for not keeping my promise, Dryag, I hope your next wielder is better than me. Moron. Elsha's voice was heard and it sounded like she was crying. Loki the aforementioned saw the brunette calmly. You will be the first and the last to see this form for a long time, until someone else manages to obtain it. The chestnut's helmet reappeared and a red aura began to remodel it. This is. Dryag was surprised, the aura that the brunette was releasing was his aura when he had his body. Processes removed. The voice was heard from the gems of Issei's armor, it was Sia's voice. 1 minute. That's all I need, said the brunette as a red tornado began to form around him. Boost 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 boost. Inside the tornado you could hear the increases that continued to increase the aura of the chestnut tree. You think I'll leave you? Loki attacked the brunette, but a shield appeared surrounding the tornado. Bakaka, this time I will help the Hyoudou. Can you help me, Kuroka? Biku jumped in front of the tornado followed by Kuroka. Naya. I will witness how they overcome Vali, said Kuroka as she was surrounded by her power. We will help. Riaz was also going to help, she would not be left behind. The rest of the Grimoire group followed their king, Irina, Roswis, Barakiel and Tannen were also going to help. Annoyance. Loki was going to begin his attack against those in front of him, but his attention was called by a crimson glow. Longinus mode. Heavenly crimson. The red swirl, which had turned a crimson tone, dissolved. What it revealed surprised more than one. It was the balance breaker's armor, but with a crimson-red tone. Its wings had changed to one similar to those of the Hyoudou, only crimson in color. The shoulder pads became larger, and the previously emerald green gems were now red. The tail, which was previously in the part of the upper sword, was now located in the lower back. Great dragon shot. A huge shot came out from the central gem towards Loki, who, being surprised by Issei's new appearance, could not dodge it and received it squarely. The god flew towards a distant mountain, and then a giant explosion arose. Stay away, I'll take care of this, Issei's serious voice was heard as she spread her wings and quickly took flight. Everyone was still surprised by the shape and new power of the chestnut tree. I didn't feel that aura for centuries. It's the true aura of Dryag, said Tannen after getting out of her surprise. But could he be alone? Shouldn't we help him? Irina asked with concern. He could, said Biku looking at the place where the chestnut tree's aura was felt. Why do you say that? Said Riaz, not very sure. Because it will be the last act of his life, Naya Kuroka answered, also looking at the place where explosions began to be seen. Starting 1 minute count. Issei did not respond to Sia's voice, he just continued firing the cannons on her shoulders. That's right, some cannons appeared on her shoulders. I think I can handle them. Yes, concentrate on hitting while I shoot. The chestnut's shoulder cannon separated from these and began to float. Incredible. He gave you the cover. Issei launched himself at Loki, who had covered himself from the shots with a dome of ice. The god saw how Issei approached him at a divine speed and they began to face each other hand to hand. This time Issei had the advantage in combat, his new armor, although larger, gave him more speed and strength. TCH. Loki walked away from the chestnut tree after receiving many blows, but he didn't count on a shot in his back, it was Dryag controlling the cannons. Again, the chestnut began to hit the god. Loki began to feel the chestnut's blows, he could swear he was bleeding. 40. Sia continued the countdown. Issei, upon hearing it, moved away from the god and was going to make some increases, but something else happened. Recharge. That was what was heard from the gems, and then, the aura released by his wings returned to him. Interesting. With the new energy, he fired a great dragon shot from his gem that hit the god, and immediately the cannons controlled by Dryag began to fire at the god. 30. The chestnut man was going to launch himself against the god, but next to him a large black flame appeared in the shape of a dragon. Is that Vritra? I hear the chestnut tree. This. Hyoudou Issei. A circle of communication appeared in the brunette's ear. This is not a good time, Issei answered as he began to dodge ice spears. I'm sorry if I interrupt something important. We sent Saji Jinshiro to his location. In the middle of training he got like this, time was running out and we had to send him like this. His conscience is still active and he can differentiate between friend and enemy. I think that if you talk to him you can make him react. While Issei was listening to the communication, he was also punching the god. Aha. I think. It will be useful to me. Answered the brunette while he dodged Loki's blasts of power. I'll give it to you and good luck. The communication ended and Issei distanced himself from the god while Dryag fired the cannons. 15. The account continued. Hey. What was your name? Ah. Saji. Issei called to the blonde Citri who had not made any movement. Hyoudou. The voice of the Citri pawn was heard. Yes, I need you to attack that blue man, you see. Said the brunette, pointing to Loki who was defending himself from the cannons. Blue man. Yes. I see him, do you want me to attack him? Asked the pawn. 10. Yes, attack the unfortunate man and I will give him the final blow, the brunette shouted as he began to gather all the power he had left. A snake of black fire enveloped Loki, the cannons disappearing after that. This is a dragon king. My power. It absorbs him. The god tried to free himself from Vritra, but it was impossible. Boost 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 boost. Issei's power exploded after those increases. Dryag, Elsha. Sempace. With this I say goodbye. A central gem began to shine brightly from the accumulated power. Saji, get away, shouted the chestnut. Vritra released the god who, even dazed, did not move. 5. Longina Smasher. The chestnut, the previous bearers and Dryag shouted in unison. A torrent of pure power shot towards the god who could do nothing and received it completely. The large explosion of crimson illuminated the entire place. Half a second after the illumination, a shock wave unbalanced all the spectators. 0. Disabling Longinus mode. Incredible. Issei whispered as he fell into a sitting position without his armor and breathed tiredly. The previously grey sky aura was crimson. So this is your carrier. Vritra approached the place where the brunette was, who only continued looking at the sky while his breathing slowly fell. Yeah. Dryag answered the newly reborn Dragon King slowly. Issei, Riaz and the others approached the place after the explosion ended. Issei, you did it, we won. Riaz was happy as she hugged the brunette who didn't make any movement. Ha ha ha. A slow laugh caught the attention of the group. It was Loki, who was bleeding all over his body and was holding on to an ice staff because his right leg had disappeared. Everyone was on guard when they saw him still alive. Good. Attack. Sekiruyute. But. I'm not finishing. Loki threw an ice spear towards Issei, who was not moving. Riaz stood up when she saw that and closed her eyes before him. Everyone screams. Riaz opened her eyes when she didn't feel anything. She looked ahead and there was Issei with the spear piercing her stomach. Issei. Riaz opened her eyes in shock as she saw how blood came out of the brunette's wound. You only prolonged her life a little. Loki prepared her next attack as he raised her aura. In response, Issei began to be surrounded by a golden aura. To everyone's surprise, he raised his left hand where the boosted gear appeared and pointed in Roswis's direction. At the Valkyrie's waist was Mjolnir that flew into the brunette's hand. Upon receiving the hammer, it began to be surrounded by lightning and grow rapidly. Is that divine aura? Loki shouted, scared by the divine aura that surrounded the brunette. Boost 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 boost. Transfer. The enormous aura was transferred to Mjolnir, and this caused the previously blue rays to now be green. Without saying a word, Issei brought the hammer down as a blow to Loki, who was still in shock. Ah, shouted the god as he received the blow and was pierced by the rays and then fell in silence. I killed him. Roswis whispered, still surprised by everything that happened. Everyone looked at the brunette, who did not make any movement or anything to remove the spear embedded in her stomach. Asia, the first to come out of her surprise, was Akeno. Why yes, the nun ran towards the brunette and began to treat her wounds, but she gasped in surprise and then covered her mouth with her hands. He is dead. Everyone opened their eyes in surprise when they heard what the nun said. You were wrong, little nun. He died long before he activated that form, Bhikkhu said seriously, and Kuroka nodded. Riaz slowly approached Issei, who had not fallen or let go of the hammer at any time. He just stood there, refusing to fall. Issei-kun. Irina's tears began to fall as she herself fell to her knees. Everyone remained silent out of respect for the achievement that the chestnut tree made. Issei, Riaz shouted as he hugged the brunette's lifeless body. The god of deception, Loki, had died. The strongest Sekiruyute, Hyoudou Issei, was the one who killed him. A god had died after a long time, and the author of that act was a human who carried a Longinus. Chapter 25. Start the cap. Because it doesn't work, Riaz cried while he tried to revive Issei. It had already been half an hour since he was trying to revive him, to no avail. His value must be higher than the 8 pawns. Someone more powerful must try, said Akeno, watching as Riaz continued trying. Issei-kun. Irina was with a blank look as she saw the brunette's lifeless body. What? No, everyone was alarmed by Ria's scream. They looked at the brunette and saw that skeletal hands had taken his leg and were slowly dragging him. It's Hades. A recovered Barakiel watched with surprise as Hades himself claimed the brunette. Don't take him. Riaz held onto the brunette, but it was impossible. His skeletal hand pushed further, but a golden aura surrounded the brunette's body, making the hand let go. That aura again. Ross saw with surprise how that divine aura protected the brunette's body, something that would be impossible since he was dead. We have to take it to the other leaders, maybe someone can bring it back, said Barakiel. I know I'm not the brightest, nor the most talented. But I have determination and desire for a better future. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of ruin, tired of hearing that all Sekiryuite are followed by misfortune, tired of the juggernaut drive, tired of empty power. Tired of domination. When I promised to change the destiny of the Sekiryuite, I will not do what you did, I will be different, I won't be the same as you. When it was. That's why let me show you what the new future of the Sekiryuite is like. When did I lose my way? Infamous Sekiryuite. Hahaha, what a good nickname, it sounds cool and scary, he said smiling with excitement. Do you think so? I think it's something that surpasses reality. As far as I remember, I was never so infamous or bloodthirsty. He said, scratching the back of his neck. Because you haven't seen yourself fight when you fight. It's like watching a battle-hungry beast fight without mercy, she responded, remembering how he fought. But that's just in battle, when you're out of it, you're a normal boy who likes to have fun, he said again while taking her hand. Eve. He said, surprised by what the girl said. And not only do you fight for your own enjoyment, I still remember how you fought against that minotaur when he hurt me. You look so worried, she said in a fun, embarrassed way to the boy. But I like that. That shows that you care and you are not the infamous Sekiryuite. It shows that, even with so much power, you are someone who cares and loves your people, the girl said again while she smiled. In my life I could never let my guard down, I always slept with one eye open for fear of an attack. At that time, the world was always in constant war, you couldn't be weak, you couldn't freely trust someone. That's why you shouldn't be so innocent in this world. Some things may have changed, everything may be calm now, but when you least expect it. Everything you had, everything you loved. It's taken away from you, he said in a serious way. Is that our destiny? Always in danger, without loved ones or friends? Asked the curious child. Unfortunately, it is a reality that follows us all our lives. The man responded, making the boy look down. But I trust that one day you can change it, that you discard ruin, domination or everything that has to do with the Sekiryuite. I would like you to create a new path for the next generations that will come after you, he said again. Man with half a smile. Do you really think I can do it? Something that no one has achieved until now? Asked the curious child. I don't believe it, I know you can do it. You are special, you were able to do many things that none of us have thought of. I firmly know that you will be able to create a new future for the Sekiryuite, said the man with confidence, making the boy smile. I don't remember exactly how it all started, I spent so much time in this place that my memory has been fading little by little, I barely remember some names of my bearers. But there is something that I can never forget. Never, but I will never be able to get those voices of anguish, loneliness and despair of those who have perished under my title out of my head. The great dragon said in a melancholy manner. When I had my body I had never thought about feelings. But since I'm here, I took on the task of trying to understand them. Our race is carefree, you will never see a dragon very attached to something that is not its treasure, but I realize that there are smaller and more significant things, humans cling to them with all their being. I still remember when a girl had awakened the boosted gear and was forced to be an incubator to test if they could make strong offspring. I think she was one of the few people who talked to me a little, she told me that I was her only one. Friend, I was surprised by that revelation. At that time I was resistant to feelings, and I still had resentment for being locked up, but that girl considered me as her friend. Her life was one of the hardest, but at the end she thanked me for giving her a light in all her misery. I think it's my fault that girl had that life. The dragon told all this while he saw the darkness that represented the curse of the Juggernaut drive. If she had not taken my fight to the battlefield of demons, fallen in angels, that girl could have lived fairly peacefully. Now she is in that darkness waiting for the curse to activate. Will I end up there? He asked timidly. I hope not, this time is not like the old time, here you can survive in better conditions compared to the previous time, that's why you should make an effort. Belzard, Elsha and I trust that you will be the change, I know it will be difficult, but I trust that you can achieve it, after all, you are the one who called me friend. He answered the dragon as he picked up the child with one of his claws. Many tried to recruit me or force me to serve them, I could never stay in one place for more than 2 weeks because everyone was after me. I don't want that for you, I know that the world is no longer the same as it was when I was alive, but not everything has changed, there are still many dangers, and people who will want you to join them are people who will try to eliminate you. I am not telling you this so that you fear what you are, I say it so that you keep in mind that not everything will be color of roses, the woman said seriously. You have our support. I know you are self-conscious about not having a single talent and not being very intelligent, but you know that intelligence has limits. Fools do the impossible. You are a fool, you can do impossible things, and you have to be proud of, the woman said again, and they both started laughing. Future? Do you know how absurd that sounds? Only ruin awaits us. A child who knows nothing about the world wants to show us the future. What a great joke, she said mockingly. I know it sounds crazy. But I will show you that ruin and domination is not the only way. I will show you the new path of the Sekiryu. I promise you that, the boy shouted with determination. They were just empty words. They seriously believed you were going to make it. I thought you would make it. But you didn't make it, you lost yourself and forgot who you are. Issei opened his eyes, everything was darkness wherever he looked. Is this how it feels to be dead? Whispered the brunette. I'd say you're in the middle. A voice was heard in the place. Who are you? Asked the brunette. Have you already forgotten me, Ice-chan? The voice said again. Grandpa? The brunette said curiously. That's right, the place lit up. Issei squinted his eyes at the sudden light. After recovering, he looked around him, and in front of him was an elderly man with brown hair and matching eyes. I'm glad you remember me, said the grandfather smiling. How are you here, Grandpa? Asked a confused Issei. That doesn't matter now, what matters more is your situation, said grandfather calmly. Ah. I guess I'm dead, Issei scratched the back of his neck remembering that detail. No, you're not dead yet, said the grandfather calmly. No? The brunette asked while his grandfather began to walk and Issei quickly followed him. A mysterious force prevents you from dying, that and there is also a certain conflict, said the grandfather. Issei was surprised by what his grandfather said about him, mysterious force. Conflict. But what counts is that there is still a chance, said the grandfather again. Chance? But all my vitality and lifespan was consumed by the juggernaut drive. And I don't deserve another chance. Ouch, Issei couldn't finish because his grandfather hit him on the head. I don't remember that my grandson is a depressed young man. I would have liked him to remain as perverted as all the generations of men in our family, said grandfather, while Issei robbed the place of the blow. That would be very embarrassing. The brunette whispered. Shameful. Shameful is not taking advantage of the luck you have to find beautiful women with great op-ace. You even earned a goddess, said Grandpa angrily as he hit poor Issei again, who was crying comically as he received the blows. That woman your father married gave you a bad influence on morality, and things like that. Look how my son and grandson end up, none of them walk the path of hero. What a disappointment, grandfather continued shouting at nothing. Sorry for being someone with normal morals and well raised. The brunette whispered, but he received a blow from his grandfather again. Well-educated brat. Don't make me laugh because many times I saw you almost losing control over a good pair of op-ace. Too bad you're too cowardly to jump to those delicacies, said Grandpa while making a perverted expression and pretending to squeeze something. Now. Issei was embarrassed by how perverted his grandfather is. Would he be like that if he didn't control himself? But well. Let's get back to the main topic. Grandfather returned to a calm and somewhat serious expression. Currently your soul is between a dispute between gods. How famous you are, Ice-chan, said Grandpa, confusing the brunette. Dispute? Between gods? Issei asked confused. That's right, that's what happens to you for not following a religion properly. The god Hades, the goddess Izanami and the goddess Hel are fighting for your soul, the older brown man responded seriously, surprising Issei. Those from the biblical faction are trying to bring you back using those chess pieces and cards, but your soul is being held by a divine force. The same force also prevents the gods from taking out your soul, the man said again. Grandfather. Issei was very surprised, he can't even die without making such a fuss. Ah, why is this happening to me? The brunette whispered. It is because of this situation that you are not completely dead, you could say that you are in the middle, said the older brunette. Issei sighed and sat in that same place. Was his soul so valuable for three gods to fight? And what was that divine force? Is there a god who is stronger than two primordial gods and one high rank? And how are you here? Asked the younger brunette. I don't know. I was in the Yomi being treated very well thanks to the fact that you are famous. And after seeing what was happening to you, I appeared here. Grandfather answered. Issei sighed. Now that he thinks about it, why did Hel want his soul? He understands Hades because he had problems with his faction, and Izanami because she herself said that he had a special soul, and because of Amaterasu, but Hel. Will it be by Odin's order or because he fought against his father? My head Issei held his head while smoke came out of it, thinking was not much of him, but if they were things beyond his understanding, at that moment he missed Dryag and his senpais. That Dryag? Issei tried to communicate with his partner, although he doubted that she was still with him. And as he thought, there was no response. Being young is good, the older brunette suddenly said, drawing Issei's attention. The prime age to make mistakes and do stupid things, Grandpa said again. Are you trying to tell me something or what? Issei asked curiously and only received a poker look from his grandfather. I'm trying to find the words to make you come to your senses and go back to being your usual self, said the older brunette. It doesn't matter anymore, I'm dead and it's better to stay like this, said Issei, lying down. Silly boy. What happened to that determination to do everything? Since when have you been a conformist? Said the older brunette. It's not that I'm a conformist, but that I'm not fit to sustain the load they gave me. The brunette answered slowly. No one is suitable at the beginning until they realize they were. Everyone makes mistakes, there is always a chance of failure. You will never know if you will lose something important or not, you just have to endure it and continue living, said grandfather. What if I lose everything? If no one needs me anymore? The brunette whispered. I wouldn't know how to answer the first one. I think that by creating new ties you can cope with the losses. As for the second question, someone will always need help, answered the older brown man. But still. It's not that easy, I'm afraid of doing things wrong. Afraid of failing, said Issei, sitting down. In life you have to make many decisions, whether those decisions are correct or not, no one knows. That's why people usually choose what they think is right. What did you choose? Grandfather asked. I don't know. I forgot what I wanted to do, said the younger brunette. What do you want to do? Tell me the first thing that comes to mind, Grandpa asked. Be strong, said Issei. And what does being strong mean to you? Asked the old man. Having the strength not to lose, he answered, not very sure. You are right and wrong at the same time, said the older brunette. What is it to be strong? Being strong is not only a question of power, the person who finds a reason to fight is strong and dedicates himself body and soul to it. What is your reason to fight? He said again, Grandpa. My motivation. It was to be the strongest Sekiryuite and the first to break the curse. But I lost that motivation along the way. I don't know what my motivation is, answered the younger brunette. Then find a new motivation, there is always time to find it, said the older brunette. You said you were afraid of failing, but that's what being young is about. You have to fail, make mistakes and stupid things, as long as you learn from them so you don't make them again, that's what life is about, Ice-chan, he said again, Grandpa. Can I really do it? Can I find that motivation? Issei asked, and the older brunette put his hand on his shoulder. Trust your impulses and your heart, not even your own thoughts will be able to betray you, even if you were to deviate from the right path, never deviate from what your heart has decided, answered the older brunette, smiling. It seems that this meeting is over, said grandfather, watching as Issei began to be surrounded by a light. Live, Ice-chan, live life, make friends, get a girlfriend or girlfriends, ask your elders for advice if you have doubts, go back to your mother and my son, they will accept all the risks because they love you very much, squeeze some good oppies, and keep making yourself famous, that way I get more pleasures, hahaha, was the last thing Issei heard and then disappeared. Ugh. Everything makes me spin. Said a brunette just waking up, he blinked for a few seconds to get used to the light coming through the window, he saw his surroundings, it was a large room, a giant bed and a lot space. I'm alive. The brunette whispered after remembering everything. He slowly sat up, every inch of his body ached. She managed to sit up and saw his situation, his body was completely healthy, but he was in a lot of pain. Tears of Phoenix. The brunette saw several bottles of the miraculous liquid, ironic as it was made by demons, on the nightstand next to the bed. Dryag. Said the brunette but received no response. Elsha. Senpais. Someone. He said again but nothing. He knew he couldn't be that good. Issei sighed, slowly getting out of bed, he lost his balance a little while doing so, but quickly got used to it. He began to stretch, every bone in his body creaking as he moved. Am I okay? The brunette said with surprise when he felt his body stronger than normal. Well. It's surprising that he has strength after sleeping for how many days. And that. He saw a bandage on his right hand, slowly removed it, and was surprised by what was there. This is not possible, Issei shouted without being able to believe it. On the back of his right hand there was a heart-shaped mark, the heart was two colors, the right side white and the left side black, in the center of the heart there was a red A. Issei didn't want to believe it. It wasn't possible. He closed his eyes and swallowed, he imagined that something was coming out of his back, and he could feel it. Donbuck, he shouted without being able to believe it. On the chestnut's back there were two new limbs, one of them was pure white and the other black that seemed to have no end. Issei couldn't take it anymore and fainted. I missed a reaction. A Wild Azazel entered the room with a video camera, but he was disappointed to see that he was late. What did you expect? That he would be calm after he found out about his conditions? Said a black-haired woman with pigtails in an angry tone. Still angry about losing? Said an amused fallen man, but was sent flying by the black-haired girl's blow. I'm leaving. Saying that, the black-haired girl left in a magic circle with a pout. Haha, the magical demon got angry. Azazel didn't care that his head was bleeding from the blow, and he laughed at the black-haired girl. Is she already awake? A red-haired Siskin entered the room seeing how Azazel was laughing, and there was a brunette fainted. It seems so Michael, with his eternal smile, looked the same as the redeed. It worked. Said a woman with dark violet hair with matching eyes. Of course it worked. Azazel approached the fainted brunette and lifted him onto the bed. I think this could be done. Are you sure you don't want to replicate it? Serziches said. No, that's fine. It's better that he be the only one who has that, after all, we will always be the bad guys. Azazel denying what the red-haired demon said. And who will he stay with? The woman asked. Let him stay in Kuo. One more representative from our side and that of heaven is fine, right? Azazel said and the leaders nodded. What about his sacred gear? Michael asked. She is still adapting to his condition or so I think, the sacred gear are very unpredictable, Azazel answered. My family was murdered by the followers of the church, they claimed that my parents had made contact with demons and, under the word of their god, they killed them. I survived thanks to the fact that I awakened my sacred gear. Since that day I spent a lot of time on the run, apparently those from the church found out that a heretic survived that day and they hunted me down. I escaped to Russia, where I was originally born, my uncles still lived there and I stayed with them for a few months. I thought I could live peacefully, that was my mistake, the church dogs found me while I was doing some shopping, I easily eliminated them, but they were just a distraction. When I arrived at my uncle's house I saw with horror how it was burning. That's why I hate the church and, consequently, heaven, said the young woman while Arthur and Issei listened to her. After that, a rebel mage found me, I trained, and then we both joined the brigade. The rest is history, Eve finished saying as she threw a branch into the bonfire. Issei remained thoughtful, previously he did not give importance to the factions, now that he heard Eve's story, he reconsidered his vision of the church and the faction of the angels. They kill in the name of their god. They are simple idiots who can't do anything without believing in something, they kill innocent people, they ruin families, they even grape. They are unfortunate, Eve said with hatred. And the great faction of the angels. They say they do everything for the good of humanity, until now I only see pure shit, they can't even control their church dogs, I hate them, Eve said again as she squeezed her fists. Help. Issei didn't show it, but he was horrified. In front of him there were children. Dead children and some dying. Calm down. Everything will be fine, Eve took the girl in her arms who had a fatal wound on her chest, there was no salvation for her. Now you understand, this is the so famous mercy of the church, said Eve as she closed the eyes of the already dead girl. I was just following orders, please don't kill me, a man dressed as a priest asked not to be killed while he was subdued by Arthur. Who ordered this to be done? The brunette asked seriously. I don't know. But they were high-ranking officials at the Vatican, that's the only thing I know, I'm playing it for God's sake, the priest responded with fear. Well, keep swearing to your God in hell. Said Eve, cutting the priest's neck with her knife. Issei opened his eyes slowly. Memories of before he fell unconscious due to his new situation came to his head. He raised his right hand and saw the mark, sighing as he lowered it. This must be a joke. The brunette whispered without taking his eyes off the ceiling. I'm glad you woke up, a soft voice was heard in the room. Issei looked down at her and saw her, long wavy blonde hair, innocent blue eyes, beautiful curves and on her head there was a golden halo. She's perfect. That's what Issei would have thought if he wasn't in his current situation. Innocent look, halo, a monster sacred power. An archangel. She deduced the brunette with a serious face to the blonde. My name is Gabriel, it's a pleasure to meet you, Issei, said the now Gabriel, approaching the bed where the brunette is. I guess you're responsible for this. Said Issei showing her mark on her right hand. You could say that it was a bet that Azazel thought, the evil Pisces did not complete the value of your soul, Azazel created a unique reincarnation system and used my ace to reinforce it, and you see the result, explained the angel without removing her smile. Why? Asked the brunette. You are valuable and we couldn't let someone who fought with the Alliance die like that, responded the angel. It was also Irina's personal request, she couldn't deny me after she told me how you are, said the angel again. Issei remained silent, processing what the angel said. What am I now? Asked the brunette. Gabriel was going to answer, but someone else entered the room. A hybrid, the one who said that was Azazel as he approached. Half angel and the other fallen to be precise, said the fallen again. How? Asked the brunette. It was difficult. Your soul demanded something more powerful than the evil Pisces and the brave saints. It occurred to me to use a method of reincarnations that was born in the tests I did with Ajuka. This method had no value like the demonic Pisces or the cards of the angels. But being the creation of my aura, it was going to reincarnate in half fallen. I tried to use it on you, but it didn't work, then it occurred to me to merge my method with the evil Pisces, but it didn't work, I tried it with the cards, and these worked. Gabriel offered to donate his ace and now. You are a kind of fallen angel hybrid, the fallen explained a little. Issei stared at the fallen man, using all the capacity of her brain to understand what the fallen man told her. What kind of method did you use? Asked the brunette. I won't say it, that method will never come out of my head, the fallen man said seriously this time. Not even the other leaders know, Azazel doesn't want anything to leak, Gabriel said with a pout. Now what? Issei decided not to ask more, it was already done and he couldn't do anything. Not much, we only ask that you stay in Kuo and continue helping. We will not force you to do anything that you do not want, said the fallen one calmly. Just like that. Issei found it difficult to believe the fallen man's words. Yes, you're lucky, if you had been a half-demon you wouldn't have left the underworld directly. Surziches may have advanced a lot, but the council controls almost everything. Being a fallen and angel you will have more freedoms, said Azazel in a carefree manner. Sometimes I may need your support, the angel added, smiling. Well. I'll need someone to teach me how to use the powers they gave me when I was reincarnated, I guess they gave me some improvements, said Issei, stretching. The normal thing for a fallen and angel, sacred power, better physical abilities, longevity and wings, your magical power is still a bargain, but that can be solved with your boosted gear, said the fallen carelessly and Issei lowered his head. The boosted gear is no longer. Said the brunette. Ah. What are you saying? Yes, I just checked that you do have it, it's just that it hasn't stabilized yet due to your sudden change, said the fallen man, surprising the brunette. Really? He asked doubtfully. That's right, give it time and you'll see. Well, now I have to go solve some things, then we'll talk. Boy Azazel left while he waved. I should go too. Gabriel stood up from the chair where he was. Wait a moment, Issei stopped the angel who looked at him curiously. I want to clarify something beforehand, I will not call anyone sir or ma'am, I still have my pride, the brunette clarified, making Seraphim smile. It's your choice, as long as you don't make a fuss everything will be fine, live your life calmly and from time to time I will ask for your help, said the archangel, smiling sweetly as she left the room. The brunette got up from his bed and went towards what I thought was the bathroom. I didn't ask why the gods wanted my soul. Nor how much time passed or where I am. Issei gave himself a mental blow for forgetting those important questions. He sighed and entered the bathroom, inside he looked for the mirror and looked at his appearance. He takes off his shirt and sees that there was a mark on his abdomen, he didn't know how that mark was made. He assumed that the god Loki made it when they fought. Then he would ask what happened in that fight. This is weird. Is it even possible? Issei saw his wings, he was also surprised to have a halo on his head, although it was not as bright as Gabriel's. A hybrid? Whispered the brunette, proceeding to take off his clothes to bathe. On Riaz, Azazel said he was fine. Akeno was trying to get Riaz out of his room, he hadn't come out for 2 weeks. I won't go out until he comes, the Redeed's voice was heard. That will take a while, they still have to do tests, said Akeno, remembering what Azazel told her a few moments ago. It had already been 2 weeks since the confrontation with Loki and the supposed death of Hyoudou Issei. Everyone was shocked to learn of the death of the god of deception. No god had died since Elohim died in the biblical war. It was understandable that there were many surprises, especially knowing that the one who killed him was the Seker-Yuete. Everyone believed that the Seker-Yuete had died in that battle. Great was his surprise when he learned that 3 gods, 2 primordial and 1 high level, want the soul of the chestnut tree. That dispute, so to speak, lasted a week in which the chestnut tree's soul did not want to leave his body due to divine influence. Azazel created a new method of reincarnation behind everyone's back, only he knew how to do it and, apparently, he was not going to tell. On day 9, the chestnut tree came back to life thanks to Azazel's method. When the week was completed, the chestnut tree woke up. It's not out yet. Sona Sitri appeared in the hallway of the Grimory residence. No. She refuses to leave until Issei-sen himself is here. She believes that the leaders are lying to her and that Issei-sen really died, said Akeno to the Sitri. Riaz, I received a report that Hyoudou Issei will be reincorporated into the academy. With those words, the door burst open and Riaz came out. Is it true? You're not lying to me? Riaz asked, doubtful of what her childhood friend said. I'm not lying to you, they even told me that she was going on the Kyoto trip. Although I heard her complaints in the background, Sona said calmly. Ria's face lit up upon hearing her friend's confirmation. Riaz entered her room with a cry of excitement, leaving both black-haired girls nervous about her reaction. I'm starting to feel envious of her crush. Maybe it bothers her. Akeno laughed slowly, but his expression showed some sadism. Informed Shidu Arena, Sona quickly walked away from Himejima, she was afraid of that smile. Issei was looking at the sky of the underworld, it had already been 3 days since he woke up. Azazel had returned the next day to do some tests, everything went well, according to the fallen man's words. He had also learned that he killed Loki. He doesn't remember any of that, he only remembers that he fired the Long-Ina Smasher, then appeared in that dark place. He also asked why the gods fought for his soul, the answer that received more doubts. Flashback, apparently your soul is special. I don't have the details, but Hades, Izanami and Hell were not the only ones who tried to obtain your soul, some minor gods also tried, but they could do nothing against the 3 mentioned, said Azazel, while Issei he was lying on a stretcher. Do you know why it's so special? Izanami said something about my soul being able to oppose the same space and time, but I don't understand anything, said Issei, while a machine analyzed him. I don't know, I'm not an expert in those things, I'll find out what I can, answered the fallen man. End of flashback. The rumors were true. Issei turned slightly when he heard a familiar voice. I thought a giant wolf gave you a lot of love and you died, said the brunette, looking at the sky again. You thought wrong, said the voice as he approached the brunette. I'm almost always wrong, it's no surprise. What brings you here, Vali? Said the brunette to the silver-haired. I wanted to confirm that you were alive, also that there is a blonde magician very worried about you, said Vali, earning the brunette's gaze. Faye? The brunette said curiously. That's right. He found us a few days ago. He hid Arthur for not telling him about your situation, the silver-haired man responded, making Issei laugh. That shape. Heavenly crimson, it's interesting, said Vali. Yes. It is an incredible power that allowed me to fight against Loki, although when I used it, I felt that it was not at full power, Issei said while squeezing his left hand. An emerald flash appeared on the back of him, making him smile. Ace doesn't tell me anything about me being able to do that. He said something about a test and then something might happen. What Vali said caught the brunette's attention. In my case there is a moderator. He said something about what we knew as the curse of the Juggernaut drive, said Issei, remembering black. Interesting. I'll investigate more. Vali was a little excited about the topic. I hope that being on the verge of death has not weakened you. Now that you are under the orders of the Alliance, I fear that you will become weak, said Vali, looking slightly at the brunette. Weak? Are you wrong? The fact that I'm in this situation now has nothing to do with it, I can still kick your butt. I even feel stronger than before, said the brunette, while a green aura surrounded him and revealed a smile of excitement. Heh. I hope so, Vali smiled in the same way and disappeared from the place. Are you alive? Bryag's voice was heard in his mind, making the brunette smile. More than ever, said Issei as his ace mark shone and the boosted gear appeared on his left arm. Author's note: Issei is now a hybrid of fallen angel and pure angel. For those who ask about the method that Azazel used to bring Issei back, you should know that in the original novel, Azazel could have created a system equal to that of demons and angels, but he did not do so for some reasons that I do not remember. XD decided to do it. Let Azazel use that method solely to revive the brunette. Why fallen and pure angel? Simple. I was mainly going to make Ria's Adam to her nobility so I can easily advance in the story, but I decided to make it more complex and something not so used until now. I didn't see that idea used 100%. And Issei, who belongs to both factions, fallen and angels, although there are many stories with that theme, none of them are finished or do not have a good sense. That's why I decided to make it a hybrid. They saw that Issei remembered some things from his time in the brigade. They also saw a little of what Eve's story was like. Do I plan to make some special ones, so to speak, from the 3 years that Issei spent training and his life in the brigade? Chapter 26. Notice. Start the cap. Bad idea, Issei said, quickly denying. Come on, you are the only one I trust for this task. She is already in her 20s, but she is very innocent. I fear that someone took advantage of her innocence, and you are the best one to protect and help her. Issei looked with a poker face to the woman. You do it, you're her mother, Issei exclaimed. I have a job, my role as an escort is over. Odin plans to leave her here as a liaison with the Alliance. She doesn't know anyone, she only had contact with you, and that's why I ask you this. Come on. Do it for your dear Dahlia, said the Valkyrie, finishing with puppy eyes, knowing that it is one of the chestnut's weaknesses. Ah, okay, stop doing that. Issei covered his eyes so as not to continue watching that tender scene. Yes, that's why I love you so much. Dahlia hugged the brunette while she smiled. It's strange. She's older than me and I have to take care of her, the brunette commented while he ran his hand over her head. Think of her as a girl in a 23-year-old body. She spent almost all of her adolescence studying. She doesn't interact much with people. She only knows how to do her job and a few other things. She is very naive about relationships and those things. Don't let any depraved person take advantage of her. You are allowed, and who knows, you might get a 2-for-1, said Dahlia. In the end she said it in a flirtatious way, then she squeezed the man's butt chestnut and disappeared in a magic circle. Damn manipulative woman, Issei shouted, slightly blushing at what the older Valkyrie did and also for imagining a situation between him and the Valkyrian mother and daughter. You fell flat, the Welsh dragon mocked. I feel violated. It had already been 2 weeks since she revived. During that time she spent it in the underworld, in the area where the fallen resided, so that Azazel could examine it well in case there was no failure in her resurrection. He also took advantage of training with his new condition. The results. He gained more resistance, if before he was a monster. Now he doesn't know what word to use to describe it. He can also fly with his new wings and can create a few things with the element of holy light. As for magic, continue stinking. The one who helped him train was Barakiel and a crazy man named Armrose. Barakiel helped him with the theory, and the crazy man always spent his time torturing him or hitting him. He always said something about anti-magic or something like that. As for his boosted gear, until now he was only able to use his augmentations and the transfer. Apparently the balance breaker still cannot be used and he can only talk to Dryag. Neither Sia, Elsha nor his senpai respond to him, although I tried, he cannot go to the center of the sacred gear. In short, his fighting level is at 70%. But that doesn't mean he can't defend himself, he can still kick butts. His new situation also brought other types of changes. His personality underwent great changes, he is still the same fool as always, but could you say that now he is more open? Also his natural perversion is seen more often than normal. Azazel told him that it is because of his new situation. He also told him that he can be more bipolar than normal. Sometimes he can be kind, charitable, and other times he can be selfish, manipulative, irreverent son of. You can imagine the rest. He is currently in the human world, specifically in Kuo. A few moments ago Dahlia left Roswis at her house, there is no sign of Revel. Surely he is at her house, he will already receive some signal from her. I'm in your care. The one who said that was Roswis who was sitting in front of him. I say the same thing. The bathroom is on the first floor, the bedrooms are on the second floor, you can take the guest room, said Issei, and the Valkyrie nodded and went to the second floor. Ah damn, Dahlia who doesn't take care of her daughter. Said Issei as she sighed and settled further into her chair. Nothing. No response from previous bearers, Dryag said after returning from the boosted gear center. He asked me if that moderator will have anything to do with it, but I found something strange. Braid caught the attention of the brunette who waited, curious as to what the dragon was going to say. There is some kind of seal, I don't know what he is sealing, but he has nothing to do with the sacred gear. That left the chestnut more curious, a seal that is not linked to the boosted gear. Will it be the work of his resurrection? My head can't handle these problems, I need Elsha. Issei said with frustration. The door of your possibilities also disappeared. There is only the representation of Sia, but she is not responding. The dragon said, just as confused as the brown one. When he woke up it was as if he had passed on to another carrier, but this was the same idiot brown one. He was surprised to know his new situation and had a hard time believing. It can't be a pure angel hybrid. And fallen, the correct term would be angel without further ado. But Azazel insisted that he was a hybrid. He is not one to think about things a lot, now he is very curious about everything that happened to his bearer and friend. There is also the issue of his power, although his part of being a pure angel is true because of the letter from the archangel, the other part did not give the same feeling to that of a fallen. He spoke with Azazel while his bearer slept, but the fallen only told him that he would find out in due time. Could it be that he can access the pre-balance breaker? Just in case someone I can't handle appears, the brunette asked the dragon. It's possible, currently it's like the boosted gear has been reset, the augmentations, transfers and skills you created can be used at half level, the balance breaker still can't be used. But if you force it you can use the pre-balance breaker. He answered the dragon as best he could, not even he knows the capabilities that the boosted gear currently has. Issei sighed, if before he felt weak not being able to use the juggernaut. Now that he can't even use his balance breaker it was like being at the beginning of everything, luckily he has his new superhuman abilities. Do you want me to cook? Roswis asked, pulling Issei out of his thoughts. I was going to order pizza. Issei said and Roswis tilted her head in confusion. You ate pizza? Right. Asked the brunette. I didn't eat many things from the human world. Roswis said sadly. Very good, I'll show you some of the best things in the human world. Junk food, said Issei smiling while the Valkyrie looked curious. It was already a new day in the city of Kuo, the working people were going to their respective jobs, the students were going to their schools, the lazy people were still sleeping, and a brunette had an angry face, while a fairly large group of students watched him. I don't want to go to school. The brunette thought tiredly. Don't complain, be grateful that they brought you to life. Issei sighed when he heard the dragon. Without further ado, I entered Kuo Academy. Chapter 26 Part 2. Start the cap. Bad idea, Issei said, quickly denying. Come on, you are the only one I trust for this task. She is already in her 20s, but she is very innocent, I fear that someone took advantage of her innocence, and you are the best one to protect and help her. Issei looked with a poker face. To the woman. You do it, you're her mother, Issei exclaimed. I have a job, my role as an escort is over, Odin plans to leave her here as a liaison with the Alliance. She doesn't know anyone, she only had contact with you, and that's why I ask you this, come on. Do it for your dear Dahlia, said the Valkyrie, finishing with puppy eyes, knowing that it is one of the chestnut's weaknesses. Okay, stop doing that. Issei covered his eyes so as not to continue watching that tender scene. Yes, that's why I love you so much. Dahlia hugged the brunette while she smiled. It's strange. She's older than me and I have to take care of her, the brunette commented while he ran his hand over her head. Think of her as a girl in a 23-year-old body, she spent almost all of her adolescence studying, she doesn't interact much with people, she only knows how to do her job and a few other things, she is very naive about relationships and those things. Don't let any depraved person take advantage of her. You are allowed and who knows, you might get a 2-for-1, said Dahlia. In the end she said it in a flirtatious way, then she squeezed the man's butt chestnut and disappeared in a magic circle. Damn manipulative woman, Issei shouted, slightly blushing at what the older Valkyrie did and also for imagining a situation between him and the Valkyrian mother and daughter. You fell flat, the Welsh dragon mocked. I feel violated. It had already been 2 weeks since he revived, during that time he spent it in the underworld, in the area where the fallen resided, so that Azazel could examine him well in case there was no failure in his resurrection. I also take advantage of training with his new condition. The results. He gained more resistance, if before he was a monster. Now he doesn't know what word to use to describe it, he can also fly with his new wings and can create a few things with the element of holy light. As for magic. Continue stinking. The one who helped him train was Barakiel and a crazy man named Armrose. Barakiel helped him with the theory, and the crazy man always spent his time torturing him or hitting him, he always said something about anti-magic or something like that. As for his boosted gear, until now he was only able to use his augmentations and the transfer. Apparently the balance breaker still cannot be used and he can only talk to Dryag, neither Sia, Elsha nor his senpai respond to him, although I tried, he cannot go to the center of the sacred gear. In short, his fighting level is at 70%. But that doesn't mean he can't defend himself, he can still kick butts. His new situation also brought other types of changes. His personality underwent great changes, he is still the same fool as always, but could you say that now he is more open? Also his natural perversion is seen more often than normal. Azazel told him that it is because of his new situation, he also told him that he can be more bipolar than normal, sometimes he can be kind, charitable, and other times he can be selfish, manipulative, irreverent son of. You can imagine the rest. He is currently in the human world, specifically in Kuo. A few moments ago Dahlia left Roswis at her house, there is no sign of Revel. Surely he is at her house, he will already receive some signal from her. I'm in your care, the one who said that was Roswis who was sitting in front of him. I say the same thing. The bathroom is on the first floor, the bedrooms are on the second floor, you can take the guest room, said Issei, and the Valkyrie nodded and went to the second floor. Ah damn, Dahlia who doesn't take care of her daughter. Said Issei as she sighed and settled further into her chair. Nothing. No response from previous bearers, Dryag said after returning from the boosted gear center. He asked me if that moderator will have anything to do with it, but I found something strange. Braid caught the attention of the brunette who waited, curious as to what the dragon was going to say. There is some kind of seal, I don't know what he is sealing, but he has nothing to do with the sacred gear. That left the chestnut more curious, a seal that is not linked to the boosted gear. Will it be the work of his resurrection? My head can't handle these problems, I need Elsha. Issei said with frustration. The door of your possibilities also disappeared. There is only the representation of Sia, but she is not responding. The dragon said, just as confused as the brown one. When he woke up it was as if he had passed on to another carrier, but this was the same idiot brown one. He was surprised to know his new situation and had a hard time believing. It can't be a pure angel hybrid. And fallen, the correct term would be angel without further ado. But Azazel insisted that he was a hybrid. He is not one to think about things a lot, now he is very curious about everything that happened to his bearer and friend. There is also the issue of his power, although his part of a pure angel is true because of the letter from the archangel, the other part did not give the same feeling to that of a fallen. He spoke with Azazel while his bearer slept, but the fallen only told him that he would find out in due time. Could it be that I can access the pre-balance breaker? Just in case someone I can't handle appears, the brunette asked the dragon. It's possible, currently it's like the boosted gear has been reset, the augmentations, transfers and skills you created can be used at half level, the balance breaker still can't be used. But if you force it you can use the pre-balance breaker. The dragon responded as best he could, not even he knows the capabilities that the boosted gear currently has. Issei sighed, if before he felt weak not being able to use the juggernaut. Now that he can't even use his balance breaker it was like being at the beginning of everything, luckily he has his new superhuman abilities. Do you want me to cook? Roswis asked, pulling Issei out of his thoughts. I was going to order pizza. Issei said and Roswis tilted her head in confusion. You ate pizza? Right. Asked the brunette. I didn't eat many things from the human world. Roswis said sadly. Very good, I'll show you some of the best things in the human world. Junk food, said Issei smiling while the Valkyrie looked curious. It was already a new day in the city of Kuo, the working people were going to their respective jobs, the students were going to their schools, the lazy people were still sleeping, and a brunette had an angry face, while a fairly large group of students watched him. I don't want to go to school. He thought, the brunette tiredly. Don't complain, be grateful that they brought you to life. Issei sighed when he heard the dragon. Without further ado, I entered Kuo Academy. Look. That's not Hyoudou. That and more things the brunette heard while he walked through the school hallways. I thought they had forgotten about me. How annoying. Issei sighed as he continued listening to the murmurs of the students. It was the same in class, all of his classmates asked him why he had disappeared out of nowhere, he simply told them that it was something personal and he didn't say anything else. Something curious is that he does not feel any of the Grimoire members, he did feel the Citri and saw some of them. Now he is heading to the occult club, Azazel had asked him to go there after class. State. No matter how hard he tried, Sia did not respond. I think we have to wait, maybe something happened with the boosted gear when they revived you. Dryag said and Issei sighed, arrived at the club and opened the door without knocking. You finally arrived. The one who said that was Azazel, who was sitting on the couch. I did everything possible to delay me, Issei commented as he sat on the couch in front of the fallen man. How about going back to school? Asked the fallen one. Boring, I'm only here because they asked me to, answered the brunette while he sighed. Coming to the academy is good to forget about the supernatural, you can also make friends and feel more normal. That's what the kids here do, said Azazel with a half smile. We are not normal. I don't understand why Riaz and the others want to be here, to feel normal. That, for me, is nonsense. It is better to accept ourselves as we are and not create a lie, said the brunette with a grimace. And you? Do you accept yourself as you are? The fallen man asked and Issei kept a moment of silence. I have to do it. The brunette whispered and the fallen man smiled slightly. Yesterday I talked to Vali, she said that today afternoon she will bring you something, before you ask, I don't know what it is, Issei was curious about what the fallen man said. Is it good that the leader of the fallen is talking to a traitor of the alliance? Asked the brunette. If no one finds out. Azazel said nonchalantly. And the annoying ones? Issei said referring to the Grimoire. In the underworld. As you know, in a few days the trip to Kyoto will take place, the parents of the Grimoire princess wanted to greet those who will go to Kyoto, Irina joined them, said Azazel. Excuse me, Issei and Azazel saw someone enter the room, it was Roswis dressed in a formal suit. How are you, Roswis-sensei, said Azazel smiling. So you're a teacher, congratulations. Yesterday, Roswis had told him that she wanted to be a Kuo teacher, she didn't want to stay at home all the time without helping with something. It's all thanks to Sona and the leader of the fallen, said Roswis, sitting on the couch where Issei is. I already told you that I am Azazel-sensei here, said the fallen one and Roswis nodded. Oh? They're coming. Azazel caught the attention of the brunette and the Valkyrie. In a corner of the room, a magic circle appeared, this glow, and then the demons Grimoire and Irina appeared. Issei looked at everyone in a bored manner. Issei Riaz jumped towards the brunette with excitement, the brunette just moved aside, and this caused Riaz to fall on the tea table. No hugs, Issei said with a poker face, she was about to sit down again when she had to dodge again. I said no hugs, Irina the angel had started to hug him, but ended up falling on top of Riaz. Ara. That's bad, Akeno smiled as she saw how his friend and the angel stood up while pouting. You're bad, you don't know how worried she was, Irina said with slight tears. Issei just watched as Irina and Riaz looked at him with tears and wanting to hug him. You saw that I'm alive, there's no need to get sentimental, said Issei, sitting on the couch. Now Riaz exclaimed, and together with Irina, they launched themselves towards Issei, who quickly jumped away. You don't learn. Issei sighed as he saw how the demon and angel tried to hug him. Issei the demon angel duo jumped again towards the chestnut tree. This is going to take a while. Azazel said with a sigh, and the rest nodded. How long do you think it will last? The one who asked that was Ajuka Beelzebub. The demon king was talking through a phone with Azazel. If my calculations are correct, it will last until the end of the year or a little longer, obviously we will not know how it will react when it returns to how it was before. Responded the fallen man. Those on my side will not respond peacefully, what we did is something forbidden but necessary, he will be a new bridge for the future, said the fallen man with confidence. I hope so, but that said, the demon cut the call. Everything will depend on him. The fallen man looked out the window of the teacher's room, classes had already ended and the students were leaving for their homes or to the places they wanted to go. Issei was returning to his house after escaping from Riaz and Irina. Roswis was going to stay a little longer because of her teaching duties. What will Vali? The brunette thought curiously. I'm curious too. Dryag was the same as Issei, that the bearer of his rival wants to give something to the brunette. That's strange. He arrived at his house, opened the door and froze when he saw who was in front of him. You have a lot of things to explain, Ice. In front of the brunette was Yumi Hyoudou, her mother, and next to her was Goru Hyoudou, her father. Both looking at the brunette seriously. What? How? Issei didn't know what to do, he had erased all the memories of his parents. Jutichmaru was also there and greeted Issei from Yumi's shoulder. We had told you that we would accept all the risks when you told us the truth, said the older brunette seriously. I. Issei was still surprised. At no time did it occur to him that his parents would return, especially with the memories of him. Ah. Come here, Yumi sighed and opened her arms in a hug. Issei quickly went to hug her mother while tears came out of her eyes. Shhh. Easy, Yumi whispered in Issei's ear. It was a while in which the Hyoudou family was silent as they hugged each other. Issei cried and downloaded everything he had saved. What better than his parents to understand him, and they wouldn't judge him. Do you remember everything? Issei asked, now more recovered. A few weeks ago, we were confused and didn't know where we were. Tynged found us and contacted your friend, Arthur. He explained everything to us and brought us here, Goro replied. Why didn't you tell me? Issei said to the mouse, who shrugged his shoulders. That reminds me. 10 Yumi hit Issei with a monstrous punch, and this left the brunette out of combat. I think you went too far. Said a frightened Goro when he saw the fury of his wife. He deserves it. How dare you erase our memory and distance us? No sir, it's time to set a limit for this young man, said an angry Yumi as she dragged her son away. Why did you do it? Arthur Pendragon asked Volley Lucifer. Don't get me wrong, I did it to make him stronger, said Volley calmly. I understand. Issei was always the type who gets stronger, as long as he has something that motivates him. What better than his parents for that? Arthur understood. Volley-sama is a good person, whispered a 15-year-old girl, with wavy blonde hair, blue eyes and dressed in a school outfit. On her back there was a blue cape with stars, and on her head, there was a hat of the same design as his cape. Naya Volley only did it to give more motivation to the Sekirute Naya. Or so I want to believe, Kuroka commented, but the last thing was whispered. I understand that you want to make it stronger. But why didn't you go see them? It was a good opportunity, Albion said curiously. When he ceases to exist. Now it is not necessary. The silver-haired man responded. By the way, Cao Cao sent us a message. We will go our way, don't get in our way, Arthur said seriously. Volley just remained silent, thinking about what that human would do. My name is Roswis, I hope I'm not a bother, the Valkyrie introduced herself. Ara. How cute, Yumi hugged the Valkyrie, who was surprised by the sudden hug. You're no bother, Roswis-chan, you can stay as long as you want, Goro said calmly. They pamper her and they punish me. Issei was in a corner of the room looking at the wall as a form of punishment that her mother gave him. It had already been 1 hour since Issei arrived at her house and met her parents. In that hour she spent it asking for forgiveness and listening to her mother's scolding. Roswis had arrived recently and was surprised to see Issei's parents. She quickly introduced herself, and now they were talking pleasantly while Issei was still in her corner. At least you've taken a weight off your shoulders and you seem calmer. Issei smiled slightly when he heard Dryag. It was true, she was very happy to have his parents with hers. Later she would talk to Arthur and thank him. Due next to the chestnut tree was Tynged, who was casually eating cheese. It's nice to see you again, said Issei, smiling at the mouse, who just nodded and continued eating. Haha, got stronger. Issei thought as he felt the mouse's aura. Mouse up. It's very broken, Dryag said amusingly. Issei the aforementioned turned around from his punishment zone and saw his mother. It's time for you to tell us what you were doing all this time, Yumi said calmly, and Issei got nervous. We can leave that for another day. Said Issei, trying not to say anything. Ella, said Yumi while, surprisingly, a dark aura surrounded her. Luck. Drake went to sleep while he listened to the curses that the brunette said to him. Well. Issei sighed and began to tell everything that happened in all the time that they were not with him. He told them how he asked his friend for help to erase their memory, how his rival helped him and saved them, his reunion with Dahlia, his adventure in the desert, his slight cooperation with the Biblical Alliance, the union of Revel, the incident in the underworld, Loki's problem and what he is currently. Yumi and Goro were surprised and worried, surprised by everything their son did and worried by all the dangers he went through. The brunette lied a little, he couldn't tell his parents that he was dead for almost a week. Roswis looked curiously at the brunette, but he gave her a sign to play along. She understood and confirmed almost everything where she was involved. Fighting with a god and killing him. That's incredible, said Goro, surprised and proud of how powerful his son is. Can you show us your wings? Yumi asked, interested. The brunette nodded, got up from the couch, and let his new wings emerge. Incredible. Yumi whispered as she approached her son and touched her wings. But isn't an angel always supposed to be an angel, only that they lose their divine protection when they fall? Roswis and Issei were surprised to hear what Goro said. I still don't understand why Azazel says I'm a hybrid. But what you said is very accurate, Issei said after getting out of her surprise. It was true, Azazel called him hybrid, but that would not be the correct term. It could be said that he is half hybrid, since he is 50% dragon, but the fallen one refers to hybrid without counting his dragonic part. My head is already hurting. Issei decided to stop thinking about it, her head didn't want to think too much. Well, I am me and that's what counts, said Issei, putting away her wings. It's true, ice will always be ice, Yumi stated while she smiled. The Hyoudou family plus Roswis spent their time talking until dinner time. Ross-chan is a very good helper, Yumi commented while everyone was eating in the dining room, even Tachmaru was at the table. Unlike her mother, Rosswas seems more competent in the variety of food. Whispered the brunette remembering the skills of the older Valkyrie. Mom only knows how to make boar, Rosswas smiled when listening to Issei, her mother was special in that sense. I would like to meet her, she sounds like a good woman said Yumi. She and her husband had heard about Rosswas's mother and hoped to meet her at some point. She is now working on what she likes, she used to be a Valkyrie, like me, but apparently something happened and she ended up leaving her position and now she is a cook in a restaurant said Rosswas. Issei remained silent, apparently Dahlia had not told him that she had been fired from her. Ice, you didn't tell us how you and Ross-chan's mother met, Yumi said curiously. That's a story for another day, now I have to go prepare my things for the day after tomorrow, so I don't forget later Issei responded as she got up and took her plate to the kitchen. I can't tell it with Rosswas here. Issei did not say how she met Dahlia through Rosswas, their meeting was somewhat complicated, but due to a certain problem. Someday she has to find out about that. Not for now, Dahlia has to say, it's not my place to do it. But that said, she greeted her parents and went to prepare her things for Kyoto. It was a new day in the city of Kuo, currently we focused on the academy that has the same name as the city. Issei-san the aforementioned stopped looking out the window when he was called. Ah. You were Asia, what do you want? The brunette asked reluctantly. Do you know that to go to Kyoto you have to make groups? Asia said and Issei opened his eyes with a little surprise. I didn't expect that. I didn't talk to anyone here, said Issei, scratching the back of his neck. Those two are free someone else joined the conversation, it was Kiryuika who pointed at the perverted duo. No Hyoudou will be infected by those perverts was heard throughout the room. Issei sighed, approached the duo of perverts and spoke to them. Hey Issei said calmly. What do you want? The bald man asked reluctantly. I'll get to the point, I don't have a group, you are free and we will sign a group temporarily, you can't refuse, is it understood? The brunette said and ordered seriously. The perverted duo could feel a suffocating pressure coming from the brunette, they quickly nodded and Issei moved away from them. Problem solved said Issei as he settled into his seat and prepared to sleep in the remaining time of the break. Hyoudou is something Kiryu laughed softly as he saw how the duo of perverts trembled after Issei spoke to them. No I wanted to be with Issei Kunarina was throwing a tantrum from her place, it's a shame that she couldn't curse anymore if she hadn't already done it. I don't understand what they see in Hyoudou. I understand that he is strong, but his personality doesn't quite satisfy me Zenobia commented. It's because you don't know him, the Ice-kun that I know is gentle and protective of whoever needs it, besides he is an angel Irina said, but covered her mouth when she saw the dark look that Issei was giving her for saying those things. You forgot to add how scary it can be. Zenobia whispered amusingly. I think Issei-san is a good but misunderstood person, we just have to get to know him better to get along, Asia said smiling. Maybe you can do it, you're good with dragons, Zenobia knew that the blonde had a magical touch with dragons, until now, the nun was the only one who dared to speak to the brunette and he answered her fairly well. But Yusan said not to be intimidated by him, that he is a good person when you talk to him, said Asia calmly. I hope he's not another rival in love. Irina whispered with a blank look towards Asia who became nervous. Then Issei-kun classes were over and club hours were active. In the CIO you could see a brunette being served by a black-haired woman. Although I didn't ask you, thank you, said Issei taking the tea that the Gremory Queen, Akeno, had prepared for him. You have to be more open, we are among friends, said the black-haired woman, smiling. My definition of friends is very far from yours. Commented the brunette with a sigh, that tea was very delicious, but he was not going to admit it. Ara. I thought we were already good friends, Akeno said with a pout. We are barely companions. That is already a lot for me said the brunette calmly. And Ria's? Is she already a friend? The black-haired girl asked, ignoring the look of her king, who was very attentive from her desk. She's a stalker who came into my house and my mom took a liking to her. The brunette responded, making the Redeed drop her head on his desk. You're bad. I like it said Akeno smiling and scaring Issei a little by what he said. Ho I'm still Issei-kun's only friend Irina laughed at the cuteness of the Redeed. Ice Rias reproached, not wanting to receive the angel's mockery. Eh? The brunette looked boredly at the red-haired demon. I'm your pretty student I'm closer than this fanatic angel said the Redeed, approaching the brunette. Whatever you say was the simple response of the brunette who did not want to continue prolonging the conversation that could have escalated into a fight between the angel and the demon. This place is more lively. Gasper commented from his box. Issei-san changes the entire atmosphere without even trying said Hyoudou. I still don't trust him, he made Irina cry. Zenobia still didn't see the brunette with good eyes, she still remembers that meeting they had a long time ago in the desert. Issei-san already apologized to Irina-san on the day of the fight with Loki Asia said to the knight. Zenobia only remained silent because of what was said. "It's good that your parents are back," said Riaz, sitting next to the brunette. Riaz had seen the brunette's parents this morning, advantages of living in front of the Hyoudou house. "Stalker," the brunette simply said, and a depressive aura surrounded Riaz as she whispered things that Issei couldn't understand. "Have you already thought about joining?" Riaz decided to change the subject so as not to continue holding back. "Aziz'll ask me to do it," said the brunette simply. "But I want it to come out of you to want to join," said Riaz. She would not take advantage of the brunette's new situation to have him close to her. "Ah. You're really difficult," Issei sighed at the Rideed's thoughts. "Come on. Say it." Riaz made the best cute face of hers. Issei's left eyebrow twitched for a moment, that was one of her weaknesses. "Okay. Riaz, I want to join the club," said Issei with a tone of surrender. "Of course," Riaz said excitedly. "No, I just created a prayer club for the two of us." Irina jumped towards the brunette who quickly dodged her. "Just because he's an angel doesn't mean he's a fanatic like you," said the brunette. "But it is our duty as angels to transmit the teachings of our Lord to humans," Irina replied. "I don't have any, sir. I only help Gabriel out of pure gratitude. I made it clear to him that I wouldn't go around saying sir or those strange things that you do," said the brunette. "No way would he do those things, and I let him." Very clear to his new lady, obviously she would not admit that she was his owner, so to speak. "How excited you are," a new voice was heard in the room, and then a golden glow, which forced everyone to close their eyes, appeared. Gabriel saw Irina quickly knelt down upon seeing the archangel. Asia and Zenobia followed the example of the brunette with pigtails, although the blue-haired girl became nervous when she saw who was accompanying the archangel. The demons just lowered their heads a little at having someone as important as Gabriel and Issei. He just stood there finishing his tea. "Good afternoon everyone, you don't need to kneel, I came here for personal reasons and to see my ace," said Gabriel with his eternal smile. "What's wrong?" Issei calmly approached the archangel. "Oh? You're different since the last time we saw each other." "Happier and more at peace," said Gabriel with a radiant smile. "Remember that she has the gift of reading the hearts of other beings." Ryag answered the doubt that had arisen in the bearer of it. Issei mentally thanked the dragon and then looked at Gabriel's companion. She was a woman in her 28 or 30s. She was dressed in a nun's uniform, which did not reveal her hair, but showed her curves well. She had a beautiful face which showed a serious and professional look. "This is Griselda Quarta, my queen of hearts," Gabriel introduced the now Griselda. "Issei Hyoudou, Gabriel's ace," the brunette simply said. "I hope to have all your support for my lady," said Griselda seriously. "Whenever it is necessary or when he asks for it, I will give it to him," Issei replied calmly. Griselda simply nodded, her lady had already explained to her about the attitude of her new partner. "I come to give you this." Gabriel took out a kind of passport. "And this is?" said Issei looking at the passport, which when she opened it, she saw her name and Gabriel's name, with what looked like the signature of Michael, Azazel and Seraphol Leviathan. "It is a permit so that you can move calmly in Kyoto. Even the goddess Izanami sent a messenger to the Kyuubi regent of Kyoto so that no one on her side attacks you," Gabriel explained, smiling. Everyone was surprised to hear the archangel, a primordial goddess, giving her permission to the chestnut tree was very surprising. Issei simply sighed and then nodded. Now it was more than confirmed, she was in the sights of not only Amaterasu, but also her mother, Izanami. "I also wanted to meet your parents," Gabriel said without leaving his smile. "Why? And? Are you watching me?" the brunette asked, very curious. His parents had returned yesterday and he had not told anyone, the only ones who knew were those present in the room. "Azazel told me, and is there anything wrong with knowing my ace's parents? Am I being very bold?" the archangel asked, tilting her head innocently. Issei simply sighed. How many times had she done it in the day? Today was the day. The brunette was yawning while she looked at her classmates. Yesterday he had taken Gabriel home to talk to his parents. He didn't know what they talked about since his mother wanted to talk privately with the angel. He stayed chatting with Griselda, more out of formality than pleasure. "If you talk to the Queen of Hearts a little, did you realize how different she is from her adoptive sister, Zenobia?" How did he know they were sisters? 1. Because of her last name, and 2. Because at the CIO, Zenobia was reprimanded by the nun. She does not know the reason for this act, she did not pay due attention to it. In the end, Gabriel had left Griselda with her parents. He was surprised by that. The archangel told him that it was her duty to protect her ace's relatives. Internally she thanked the archangel for that. Detail. "I hope you have fun on her trip, Asia, don't let Zenobia get into trouble." Issei came out of her thoughts as he heard Riaz saying goodbye to the members of her nobility. "I will do my best," said Asia smiling. Riaz gave them passes similar to Issei's. They did not have the signature of the alliance leaders and the goddess Izanami, but they had the same effect. "Ice." Riaz approached the brunette after he separated from his servant. "What's wrong, Crimson Tomato?" he asked calmly. "Take care, I know about your problems with the goddess Amaterasu," the Redeed said with concern. "You don't need to worry." Issei began to walk towards the bullet train when he saw how Raswas, who was in charge of her, motioned for him to leave. Halfway there she felt a tug, she turned around and stayed still. Why was that? Riaz was kissing him on the cheek. For good luck with that said, the Redeed left with a noticeable blush. Bold, the brunette shouted, slightly blushing at the Redeed's action. The haha caught you off guard. Dryag was laughing heartily at what happened to his bear. Silence. Without further ado, Issei got on the train still thinking about what the Redeed did. Chapter 27. Start the cap. I can't think of anything. Issei sighed looking at the large white place that was completely empty. He was in the core of the boosted gear, he entered there taking advantage of the fact that he was on the train heading to Kyoto, in the real world he was asleep. I looked everywhere and found no sign of the above. Sia representation is here but does not respond. Dryag was next to Issei, both looking at what was the representation of Sia. We see. Issei approached Sia to see if she would react. Access denied. It was heard around the place, Issei and Dryag were surprised by that. And now you're coming out with this. The brunette was trying to understand what was happening, and until now he didn't understand anything. You're the user. Supposedly. Dryag said and, like Issei, he didn't understand anything either. I mean, it's still me, right? The only thing that changed was that I have Gabriel's ace. In fact, it should work better, said Issei. It may be that he still doesn't adapt to your new condition, remember that I told you that I felt like I was passing into a new carrier. Dryag still thought the same as him until now. I can't think of anything, said Issei as he let out a sigh. Until now I didn't understand anything. His senpais disappeared, Sia doesn't seem to accept it, there was also the fact that his behavior was more unstable than she thought when Azazel told her about it. He had the urge to do bad things, to curse anyone who bothered him, but those impulses were counteracted by those of helping, being compassionate, and those things that good people do. He also had a very out-of-place thought when he met Irina again yesterday. The angel bragged about her status and talked about Michael, her faith and blah blah blah. When he heard her, he had the idea of taking the angel, locking her up in a room and do unholy things to her so that her faith and loyalty belongs only to him. When he realized what he was thinking, he immediately left the place with the excuse that he was bored. Dryag told him that he was normal. It was the mixture of his fallen and dragon instincts, but Issei said that that was very extreme, thinking about doing that to her friend was not very normal. They are calling you. Issei snapped out of his thoughts upon hearing Dryag, simply sighed and left the sacred gear. There was half an hour left to get to Kyoto. A while ago, Hyoudou spoke with Issei to ask him about her travel plan. The brunette looked at him strangely for a moment, but then he simply said that he would do what perverted fools would do. Issei already knew Kyoto, it was the first place he went on his training trip, he traveled from end to end until he accidentally entered the real Kyoto. He had to flee since some birdmen considered him a threat and did not wanted to fight. Hello, Irina sat next to Issei, who let out a light laugh when she saw how the perverted duo slept in each other's arms. It's not a very good idea, Irina. Issei looked slightly at the angel, and there he was again, he decided to do something about her, he quickly stopped looking at her and focused on something else. Is something wrong with you? Asked a brunette with pigtails when she saw how Issei was not paying attention to her. Nothing. What do you want? The brunette said quickly. I saw you very lonely and I decided to talk to you, the angel simply said. I'm never alone. Issei moved his left hand, making the brunette understand that he was talking about his tenant. True. And what does it feel like to have someone with you all the time? The brunette asked, trying to find a topic of conversation. Disturbing at first, then you get used to it, but you have to keep in mind that you can't do certain things, Issei said even without looking at her. What kinds of things? Issei looked at the angel with a poker face. For example. Take the goose for a walk, he said, trying to be annoying, but Irina smiled. I didn't know you had a goose, one day I would like to see it, she said smiling, and Issei stared at her. It must be a joke. Issei sighed internally at how innocent his friend was. The church continues to raise people without brains. By the way, Michael-sama asked me to help you with your angelic side, do you think I could show you some tricks during your rest periods? Said the brunette. And you do it because your great Michael-sama told you so or of your own free will? Asked the brunette, slightly angry for naming the archangel. Irina was his friend, she belonged to him and not to that angel. He opened his eyes for thinking about that, he shook his head for thinking that way, and he reproached himself for speaking to the angel like that. Well. Both reasons, but I do it more of my own free will, said Irina. She was surprised to see the brunette's angry expression. He planned to relax me these days. When we return I might accept your help, the brunette said slowly. It's a promise. Irina wasn't going to waste her opportunity, and she quickly raised her hand with her little finger raised. I don't promise anything, Issei denied the action of the angel, who pouted. Oh come on, accept, the brunette insisted more, but Issei simply ignored her. I have to learn to control myself, these sudden changes in behavior can harm me. Issei continued to ignore her friend while she thought about how to control her sudden outbursts. Dryag had helped him control her dragonic side so that his instincts would only be released in battle, but now with his new fallen instincts that made him more liberal and evil, it was different. You should talk to Azazel, he may know how to help you. Issei sighed at the suggestion of her dragonic friend, she sincerely did not want to continue getting involved with the Fallen One, she felt that she would bring him problems if she accepted her advice. Attention, we will arrive in 5 minutes, Roswis gave the notice to the students. Irina had given up on getting Issei's attention and had returned to her seat much to Issei's delight. Hey Sig. Are we doing the right thing? Asked a young blonde with blue eyes to a man with white hair and red eyes. Do you have doubts about Cao Cao? Asked the white-haired man. No. But I think doing this. Taking a mother away from her daughter is wrong. It doesn't matter if they aren't human, said the blonde slowly as she saw a woman tied up and unconscious. You should not feel sorry for those beings, Jan, a new voice was heard in the place. Aorg. Said the now Jan looking at the black-haired man with glasses. They use humans for their own desires, it is our duty as heroes to exterminate them, it has always been like that, Georg said seriously. But the objective of this group is to help humans who were in trouble and not to kill or attack supernatural beings indiscriminately. If Issei were here. The blonde swordswoman said quickly. Hyoudou is no longer one of us, he betrayed us. He allowed himself to be corrupted by his power. We already knew what he is like now, something that could no longer be called what he was before. He and Lyabov decided to end everything and paid the consequences. Although one was saved, said the magician furiously. Jan gritted her teeth in suppressed fury, Georg reminded her of that day. The day she lost her best friend to the goals of her now leader. Don't forget. The objective is to eradicate the supernatural, and in a few days we will take the first step, saying that, the magician left the place. He's right, Jan. I won't let the respect I have for Hyoudou to turn me from my goals, you should do the same to Siegfried, who was silent all this time, said as he also walked away. Only Jan and the unconscious woman were left in the place, Jan still thinking about whether she made the right decision by following Cao Cao. Hotel Kyoto Surziches. Said Issei looking at the large sign that said the name of the hotel where he and his companions would stay during their stay in Kyoto. Look back, Issei paid attention to Dryag and turned around, as he did so he sighed, in front of the Surziches hotel was the Kyoto Serafal Hotel. This place is very luxurious. Away from the chestnut tree was a group of young people. I heard that the Gremory family owned the hotel, thanks to that we were able to have these luxuries, said Zenobia, and Issei looked at them with a poker face. The damn hotel is named after the Siskin Lucifer, it's obvious that the Gremory would be involved. Issei shook his head as he approached his classmates who were sitting on the floor of the hallway, all paying attention to their respective teachers taking roll. Roswa spoke up, drawing the attention of all of his students. There is a 100 yen store in the Kyoto Underground shopping mall. If you need anything, please go there. You should be very careful with your money. Money is what makes the world go by. If you buy everything you want, you will run out of money soon, so please settle for the 100 yen store. The 100 yen stores are the treasure of Japan, said the Valkyrie with emotion. What was missing? The daughter is equal to her mother. Issei sighed at the attitudes that Roswis inherited from Dahlia. After storing your luggage in the rooms, free activities will start until 5 p.m. But please do not go too far, it is best to hang around the area around Kyoto train station, please. Come back to your rooms before 5:30 p.m., a teacher said that after Azazel dragged Roswis. All the students said yes and little by little they went to their rooms. Issei the aforementioned stopped, turned around and saw that it was Azazel. Here the fallen man gave him some keys that Issei grabbed. And this? Asked the brunette. They are keys, they are used to open and close the doors, said the fallen man calmly. Issei began to raise his aura and Azazel quickly intervened. I was kidding tch. You can't be bothered, something else is that you look like Vali. Said the fallen man, denying. It's the key to your room, you will have one for yourself, it will also serve so that we can all get together, explained the fallen man. Why in my room? Asked the brunette. Come on, don't complain. It's either that or you share a room with me, said the fallen man, but he realized that the brunette was no longer there. This is how it feels. Azazel said into the air. I like it, said Issei looking at his very small room. It was a simple one, there was a futon, an old TV, a bathroom and a few other things. The advantage of when you get used to living with simple things. Dryag had in mind that the fallen man was going to provide the brunette with a luxurious room, but that expectation changed when he saw what the room was really like. Haha, look Mitsuda, they gave Hyoudou a room joke. The brunette's groupmates peeked through the brunette's door. Do you want to die? Issei said seriously, the perverted duo swore they saw a black aura surrounding the brunette. Without saying a word, the duo ran away. Scary Issei closed the door and slowly prepared to put his things away. These stores have a lot of interesting things to sell. The one who said that was Zenobia. Wow, all these foxes are cute. Asia was looking at some stuffed foxes that were in a store. Will I have enough cash to buy souvenirs here? Irina wondered. Having just arrived at Fushimi Inari, the church trio was already enjoying the atmosphere of Kyoto and the things it offered. A beautiful trio in contrast with a backdrop of a Kyoto landscape. Let's take a photo. The perverted duo had fun taking photos, of course, it would be better if they took the landscape instead of the girls. And what about me? Kiryu demanded at the perverted duo. Would those three have realized that we are being watched by more than 10 beings? Issei asked himself, discreetly looking around. You should enjoy it a little, I know you were here a while ago, but try to relax. I advised Dryag to the bearer of it. I'll try. The group of young people advanced, they arrived at the first torii where, passing through it, they found a large door and on the sides of it, there were 2 statues of foxes. Author's note. A torii is a traditional Japanese arch that is usually found at the entrance to Shinto shrines, marking the border between profane and sacred space. They consist of 2 columns on which 2 parallel crossbars are supported, often colored in vermilion red tones. The perverted duo and Kiryu passed by calmly. As for the supernaturals, they asked to see what the statues analyzed them. Issei simply ignored them and continued on his way. They walked further and reached the main room. As he continued he found the stairs leading to Inari Mountain. They took photos as they went. They arrived at a large staircase, there were 1,000 torii on it. It had already been 15 minutes since they were climbing, and some, except the supernatural ones, were already showing signs of fatigue. Wait for me, why do all of you have so much energy? Said Motohama, who was out of breath. Hey Motohama. This is embarrassing. Even Asia-chan and the others are fine, said Mitsuda in a better state than his perverted friend. The group of young people had reached the halfway point in a rest area where there are some shops. The church trio concentrated on taking photos. Kiryu was fighting with Mitsuda and Motohama was trying to breathe. I'll wait for you up there, she said simply and began to run up the hill. That was nothing to him and his monstrous resistance. In less than 10 minutes he reached the top of Inari Mountain. He could have reached it in less than 1 or 2 minutes, but there were humans in the way. There aren't many changes. Commented the chestnut looking at the place. In the place there was a small hermitage where tribute could be paid. Author's note. A hermitage is the same as a chapel or small church, the only thing that changes are the names, shapes and different deities to worship it. The place was surrounded by a lot of vegetation, barely any sunlight passed through the trees there. Normally tribute is paid to Inari, but I won't help give him power haha. The brunette laughed internally and then became a little serious. I was wondering if they would do something when I'm alone and I wasn't wrong, said Issei as he saw how he was surrounded by multiple figures. Stranger, a blonde girl dressed as a priestess stepped forward, she had ears on her head and tail. Those surrounding him were beings with raven wings and chicken-like heads. The Yaokai Kitsun and Tengu Karasu. I have permission to be here, said Issei, taking his permit out of his pocket, but he had to dodge a Tengu that attacked him without warning. Give back my mother, the girl shouted angrily. What did you say? Relax. I cannot do it. Issei calmly dodged the Tengu, stopped a spear that was going for his stomach, and with it, he hit the Tengu that was going to attack him from behind. My mistake. Dryag sighed as his companion defeated the Tengu easily. Am I just arrived in Kyoto? I have permission to be here. I don't know. Nothing. About your mother, Issei said while he dodged the Tengu. My eyes do not deceive me, give me back my mother, said the Kitsun. Well. I tried it the peaceful way. Issei quickly knocked out the Tengu, leaving only the girl who showed an angry expression. We're late. Zenobia and Irina arrived, both with wooden swords. Issei-kun, are you okay? Irina asked in a worried manner. Ah. Yes, I'm fine, and what were you planning to do with wooden swords? Issei said with a poker face and seeing that Asia also arrived. So it's like this, you are all the ones who my mother, this is unforgivable, filthy demons, you have contaminated this sacred place, I will not forgive you, shouted the angriest girl. I want to add that I am not a demon, said Issei calmly. Retreat, we do not have the numbers in our favor. You impure beings, I will have my mother return to me, said the girl, and together with her 2 Tengu, who until now had not moved, disappeared in a gust of wind. That's leaving in style. Commented the brunette calmly. You were sorry, weren't you? Georg said seriously. Yes. It was slight, but I could feel it. He is here, said a black-haired man as he tightened his grip on his spear. Ahaha, I'll finally be able to take back the humiliation he did to me, shouted a big man. You have no chance against him, Heracles, Siegfried said calmly, making the now Heracles angry. I'm stronger than I was 2 years ago, Jan sighed when she heard the big brainless man. She knew that only Cao Cao had a chance against the Sekirute. Get ready, tomorrow we will pay him a visit, ordered Cao Cao, while he smiled with emotion. It was already getting dark in Kyoto. Azazel and Roswas were informed by the church trio and Issei of the attack they suffered. Azazel said that he and his men would take care of the matter and told the young men to go eat something. Issei said that he was not hungry and went to his room. He had to try to control his new impulses, he didn't want something bad to happen because of him. It was almost 10 at night and Issei was leaving his room to go to the hotel dining room since he got a little hungry. He was walking calmly through the corridors of the hotel until someone stopped him. I knew you were one of them. I'm very disappointed, Issei, who was about to go down the stairs, turned around and saw Ross was standing on another staircase. Eh? What are you talking about? Asked the brunette. You were going to spy on young girls in public bathrooms. I hadn't believed what my mother said about your hidden perversion. I'm very disappointed, said the Valkyrie, angry with the brunette. Well. If you look closely, I'm about to go down to the dining room, the bathrooms are upstairs and I'm going downstairs. I don't know if you understand, the brunette said the obvious. Roswis remained silent as a slight blush appeared on her face. I will. Eh. The Valkyrie didn't know what to say, she had thought wrong. Issei smiled evilly and quickly approached the Valkyrie, pushed her against a wall and took her hands. What are you going to do to apologize? The brunette whispered into the Valkyrie's ear and then blew into it, causing the Valkyrie to shiver. Issei kissed the Valkyrie's neck and slowly unzipped her tracksuit. Reaction 2. Issei stopped immediately upon hearing Dryag scream. She realized what she was doing. She saw Roswis's red face and slight tears and quickly walked away from her. I am sorry. I got carried away and almost did something wrong. You can hit me if that makes you feel better. Issei lowered his head in apology. Her instincts took over and she almost did something unforgivable to Dahlia's daughter. No. Don't worry. My mother and Azazel told me that something similar could happen, said a recovered Roswis, but her blush still didn't go away. Eh? Issei raised his head. He thought Roswis was going to hit him or something else, but there was nothing. Mama and Azazel told me about your uncontrolled instincts. I was surprised by your actions, but I'm not angry, the Valkyrie said again. But. I almost did something wrong. Don't act like it's normal. Hit me, do something. You're within your rights. Issei lowered his head again in apology for her actions. Don't worry. In fact. I like it, Roswis said in a whisper, but Issei heard her. That uncomfortable. Issei looked up and saw how Roswis was still red, but there was no resentment or anger in her eyes. Well. You must try to control yourself. What would have happened if someone else was in my place? I don't even want to imagine it. You must be more responsible and controlled, understand? Roswis had returned to the role of her teacher. I'm trying. But it's difficult, said Issei, scratching the back of his neck. Here they were. A new voice was heard. Issei and Roswis saw that it was Azazel. Azazel? What's wrong? Issei asked while Roswis adjusted her clothes and hid the hickey that was forming on her neck. We have been invited to go to a nearby Japanese restaurant, said the fallen man calmly. Who is it? Roswis asked. The very pretty magical demon queen, answered the fallen one while she smiled. Welcome was the first thing Issei heard when he opened the door of the restaurant. The demons Gremory, Irina, Roswis, Azazel and Issei had escaped from the hotel to meet with Seraphol Leviathan at the restaurant that was one street away from the hotel. It's been a while, Sekirute, said Seraphol to the brunette, who only nodded in greeting. Come on, the food will be served in a few moments, the demon said again and guided them to a large table where the Citri demons were. Hey? What happened to the blonde from the student council? Issei watched curiously as Saji had a blank look on her face. His eyes, once blue, were now black. There were black marks on her arms and neck, and his aura felt very powerful for a pawn. It seems that Ritra completely took over her body. That surprised the brunette. Was the Citri pawn's will so weak as to succumb to Vritra's power? Hello, Dryag, Saji spoke, but his voice was deeper. Vritra. Your bearer no longer exists. His will and motivation were not enough to withstand my power. I ended up possessing his body, and now he no longer exists. I will help Sona Citri on her path until it is no longer necessary, in the form of an apology for having possessed her body. Pawn, said the Dragon King calmly. Sona won a very strong piece. I hope we can train together, Vritra said Issei, extending his hand to the Dragon King. It will be a pleasure. I hope you can help me adapt to this new life. Vritra accepted Issei's greeting, who nodded. I thought Saji could handle the load. Did he lack more motivation? Maybe a good rival would have helped him, commented Azazel. He had been responsible for Saji, and in the end, the pawn Citri couldn't handle the load that he gave him. Had given and ended up disappearing from existence. We are having a hard time making Vritra-san adapt to his study life. I hope you can help him. Hyoudou-san, said Tomo Meguri, and Tsubasa Yura, Momo Hanakai and Ryaku Saka nodded. It will be entertaining, said Issei, nodding to the Citri girl's request. It was a shame. I had done a good job in my Sotan and Riaz-chan's rating game, said Seraphol. Why does she use honorifics if she is not Japanese? In fact, Riaz and Sona also use them and they are not Japanese at all. Issei denied internally as he took a seat next to Vritra. And why did they call us? Zenobia asked. I have come here to obtain the cooperation of the Yokai forces of Kyoto. As you know, I am in charge of foreign affairs, and I came to meet with Yasaka-san, the Yokai leader, to establish relations so that later the Yokai will join to the Biblical Alliance. But there seems to be an unusual situation, said Seraphol, abandoning her cheerful tone. An unusual situation. Roswis asked, and the other young people, except Issei who already sensed that something was happening, paid attention to the demon queen. According to reports from the Kyoto yokai, Yusaka-san disappeared a few days ago, Serafal said seriously. All the young people were surprised to hear Serafal. That's why that girl said things about her mother. Then she must be Kunu, Yusaka's daughter. Issei knew in advance who the yokai leader was. He thanked Elsha for forcing him to study all the known factions. So the yokai leader is missing. Could it be that Zenobia didn't finish because Serafal stepped forward? Most likely they are from the Chaos Brigade, said the Demon Queen, looking slightly at Issei who, upon seeing the demon's look, shrugged her shoulders. And it's already difficult to take care of the brats. These terrorists are annoying. Azazel did not hesitate to show his anger. No matter what, this situation cannot be revealed. We must solve it ourselves. I will try to get the cooperation of the yokai so we can help them and have a better chance of better cooperation, said Serafal. Lust? Well. It can be fun if the brigade is involved. Issei sighed, again she would have to do something, but her consolation is that she can bother the brigade. Understood. I'm going to act alone. These terrorists really have nothing to do but bother, Azazel said to Serafal. Is there a clue or something? Asked the brunette. You will not participate. Try to enjoy what remains of the visit, you more than anyone need peace of mind, Azazel said to Issei who stared at him. Well, everyone went blank at the little effort that the brunette put into replying to the fallen man. For now let us take care of it. If something happens there will be no choice but to ask for his help, said Azazel trying to ruffle the brunette's hair, but he dodged it. Have fun, I'm going to have fun too, Serafal returned to his animated side. Who do you think it is? The old guys wouldn't bother with any faction other than the biblical ones. I'm completely sure it was Cao Cao. They are the only ones who can enter almost any place because of Georg and his sacred gear. And what will you do? Charge me for what they did that day. Issei had many pending accounts with the hero faction, but with Cao Cao, who was directly responsible for Eve's death. I'll show you what can happen when you bother me. Issei showed a dark look that no one could see. He would get revenge from him against the self-proclaimed hero. Chapter 28. Start the cap. I'm really impressed. I thought you were completely useless who only knew how to heal, Issei commented watching Asia do katas. It was the morning of the second day in Kyoto. Issei was on the roof of the hotel. He had gone there to do some exercises to keep in shape and he met the demons Gremory and Arena. Oh, that's how you think of me? How bad you are, Issei-san, said Asia, stopping from doing her katas. Don't blame me, every time I saw you you were kidnapped or hidden, said Issei as he shrugged his shoulders. But you forced her to train martial arts and put more pressure on her after the show Diodora made, said Hyoudou, while she had a small fight with Arena. By the way. What is that cane? Zenobia asked the brunette. Do you mean this one? Issei took out his bow from the boosted gear, drawing everyone's attention. He has a very strong aura, said Hyoudou looking at the bow. I'm not a big fan of using weapons, but it's very useful when I don't need my sacred gear. Issei moved her bow slowly. That day. In the desert, you used it against the statue. I remember that the aura that surrounded the staff took the shape of a leaf at the tip, said Arena, and Issei turned on the bow's aura and shaped it at the tip. It now looked like a spear with a tip made of pure energy. This bow belonged to the strongest man Hyoudou Issei. He was in contact with the power of Dryag for a long time, and that is why it is very compatible with dragonic power. I dare say that in the future, it will become a legendary weapon, said Issei, undoing the shape of the leaf. Incredible. Said the demon surprised. It's not that big of a deal. Issei put the bow back in the boosted gear. Giving form to a power as dense as dragonic power is very impressive, said Hyoudou, looking at Issei with some admiration. I have no talent for magic or its derivatives, the only thing I have is my resistance and ingenuity. I managed to be moderately good at manipulating and distributing the aura, therefore, and my resistance, even when I was human, I could withstand the pressure and impose the balance breaker, said Issei giving a demonstration, creating a small dragon shot without the boosted gear. And with the distribution you could give more capabilities to your human body. That's why you were so strong when you were one, Hyoudou commented, remembering the strength that the brunette showed on the day of the meeting, and even the day they tried to fight him when they first met. It was a pain to learn the distribution. In the first attempts I broke the bones in my hands and legs, said Issei, remembering his hellish training. The demons and the angels sent a shiver down their spines upon hearing what Issei said. Enough talking about me. You still have 1 hour to start the tours again. I want to see what they are made of, said Issei, taking the rest out of their thoughts. They all began to train again in front of Issei. Irina had asked him if she wanted to be her training partner, but Issei told her that they should fight against each other. The 3 swordsmen were surprised by that and agreed to the brunette's request. As for Asia. The ex-nun was forced by Issei to do push-ups with him sitting on her sword. If Siegfried is here he will want to fight against the sword fanatics. I hope that with this mini training, they will be up to the task. Issei knew that the trip was already lost. He indirectly told his supernatural companions that they will face enemies that are not normal. That's why she told the swordsmen to fight all against all, so that their reflexes would be honed to fight with multiple swords, since she knew Siegfried's capabilities. I'm not sure they can do anything though. Issei sighed, he would end up doing everything. Although, if Roswisser Azaz'll help, everything might be fine. Do you think the true Longinus has already reached balance breaker? Issei looked at the sky upon hearing Dryag's question. He is the safest. He answered the brunette while he hit the ex-nun's rear to make her follow his exercises. Do not take advantage. Issei smiled with amusement as he saw the ex-nun's blush. His urges were again coming to light. Eyes, it's time to go, Kiryu shouted with excitement as he pointed at the bus. The supernatural group shouted with excitement, except for Issei who was looking at his social media on his cell phone. I never imagined that Vritra would create an Instagram. Issei smiled slightly when he saw the photo where the Dragon King was eating cotton candy with his companions. Ichikemeru uploaded something. Issei saw how Ichikemeru uploaded a photo of him while he was chasing some cats. They having fun and I'm here with these misfits. Issei sighed, he put away his cell phone and got on the bus that would take him to Kiyomizu-dera. Author's note. The Kiyomizu-dera Temple of Pure Water. It is something Japanese, for Japanese people and their Japanese things. If you want more information, search on Google. I am not a pinch master Av. I heard that this is called a 3-year slope. If you fall here, it means that you will die within 3 years. Said Kiryu reading the pamphlet. How scary. Asia was really terrified and clung to Zenobia, the blue-haired girl clung to Irina, and Irina clung to Issei. Did you believe that? Issei asked with a poker face. The group continued advancing until they reached a temple where tributes and prayers were paid. It says here. Test the compatibility with your partner, said Kiryu, and immediately Irina appeared next to her. This is worth gold. The angel whispered. If I fall here. Do you think I'll survive? Mitsuda asked, looking down. Do you want to try it? Issei appeared behind the pervert with an evil smile that scared the two perverts and they ran away. Scary. Issei sighed, he really wanted to push him. The group went to the souvenir shop. Issei did not buy anything, since he had brought the souvenirs to his parents when he returned from his training trip. The tour of Kiyomizu-dera lasted half an hour. The supernatural group plus Kiryu and the perverted duo were going by bus to Ginkaku-ji, the temple of the Silver Pavilion. They were in a bit of a hurry since there wasn't much time to explore everything. Issei was unconcerned since he already knew everything. It's really not silver. Was the first thing Zenobia said when she arrived at Ginkaku-ji. The blue-haired girl was visibly disappointed. I understand you. I had the same disappointment the first time. Issei cried internally when he remembered his first time in that place. He made the same expression as Zenobia, except that at that time he was 14 years old. After sightseeing at Ginkaku-ji, the group stopped for a bite to eat and then made their way to the next destination, Ginkaku-ji. Author's note. I think there is no need to clarify about Ginkaku and Kinkaku. It is the most famous thing that is talked about in almost all anime manga novels. It's really gold. Zenobia raised both arms, her face was full of emotion. The group had arrived at Ginkaku-ji. Zenobia shouted with excitement when he saw that the temple was truly made of gold. Issei took a selfie to send to her mother and to upload to her networks. Please enjoy. A woman handed me a tray with cups of tea. They were at a rest area after walking around a bit. It really is gold and shiny. Zenobia still seemed to be in a dreamlike state as she looked at the photos of the temple. Zenobia. Asia, let's say some prayers to commemorate, Irina said as she got into position. That idea. Zenobia joined the angel as did Asia. What a way to ruin the atmosphere. Issei sighed when he saw the trio from the church. Everything was going smoothly and they already had to deal with his nonsense. What bothers you is the devotion and love they have towards their religion. Issei rolled his eyes, he wouldn't admit it, but it bothered him that people who were slowly getting closer to him were so fanatical. Issei took his cell phone that was ringing. Mom? Said Issei when answering the call. Issei, Kun. The aforementioned was surprised to hear a voice that was not his mother's. The Keno? He asked strangely. That's how it is. Your mother is having tea with us and showed us the photos you sent. And? If it's because of the yokai that are seen in the photo, I already knew that, said Issei while he drank his tea. And I had already prepared an explanation. Very late, miss. Tell my mother not to worry, she's fine here, said Issei calmly. Okay. And Issei Kun. Yes? The brunette asked curiously. Do you want to know what underwear I'm wearing? Issei heard the question and ended the call. He almost answered. The brunette put away the phone and finished his tea. So, is there any reason why all the humans have been put to sleep? Issei asked, looking at the woman who gave them the tea. As expected of the current Sekiryuite, said the woman as she revealed her fox ears and tail. An attack. Zenobia took out a sword that made Issei chill. Dragon Slayer. Issei nodded upon hearing Dryag. The sword Zenobia carried was a Dragon Slayer. He looked around calmly, they were surrounded by yaokeis, but they did not transmit hostility. Stop, everyone paid attention to the shout, it was Roswis who came running. It's a ceasefire, or in other words, the misunderstanding has been cleared up. The daughter of the Kyuubi wants to apologize to all of you, said Roswis as he took a breath. I am the fox Yaokai who serves the Kyuubi monarch. We felt very bad about last time. Please come with us as our princess would like to apologize to all of you. The demon queen and the ruler of the angels fallen are already there, said the kitsun woman as she bowed before the chestnut tree. My first time here without being taken as a threat. Issei saw the real Kyoto as he was guided by the kitsun. Are they human beings? The yaokeis looked curiously at the group of young people. No, I have heard that they are demons, said a dog woman. Damn. How strange to see you here, said a were-tiger. A dragon. What is the reason for the presence of a dragon? No, it's not just a dragon, there are two other natures in its being, said an elderly yaokai in the form of a monkey. That's not the killer of the Norse god, shouted a young yaokai. That put everyone in a state of surprise and slight fear. As they advanced they could hear the gossip of more yaokeis, although everyone was paying attention to Issei, and that was bothering him. After walking a few more minutes, the group arrived at a mansion that looked old but in good condition. They finally arrived at the entrance of the mansion where Azazel and Seraphol, next to them was the same girl who attacked them yesterday. Hello everyone, Seraphol greeted energetically. Princess Kunu, I have brought everyone here. The kitsun woman who led them there bowed to the now Kunu and disappeared in an explosion of fire. I would like to do that. The thing about exploding. Yes, you can do it, but you will be fried, ha ha ha. Issei rolled his eyes at Dryag's teasing. I am Kunu, the daughter of Yasaka, the administrator of yaokai life in the interior and exterior of Kyoto, the young yaokai introduced herself. I am very sorry for what I did. I attacked you without having investigated you. I am deeply sorry, please forgive me. Kunu lowered her head in apology. It's okay. Isn't it great that the misunderstanding has been cleared up? I don't care as long as I can enjoy our trip in Kyoto without further incidents, said Zenobia, even though she wasn't attacked. Yes. The pious heart is very important for the angels. I don't have any grudges, Irina said it with energy, even though they didn't attack her either. You're the princess here, right? Issei advanced until he was in front of Kunu, who was a little scared by the slight pressure that Issei released. Why yes. The young woman whispered. Wouldn't you show me that bravery that you showed yesterday? Issei said again. The Tengu guards who were protecting Kunu were going to intervene, but an elderly yaokai stopped them. I understand that you are sorry for having made a mistake yesterday, but do not lower your head so lightly, you must have your pride as the princess of this place. Issei crouched down to the young Kunu and made her stand up. If your mother is missing, you are the one who should take care of everything here, you must show yourself strong, so that those who follow you do not lose their morale, said the brunette to Kunu, who nodded slowly, while light tears fell from her eyes. Cry when you are with your mother, Issei returned to her place calmly, while Kunu wiped away her tears. Weren't you very rude to her? She's a girl, Zenobia whispered angrily. Asia and Irina also looked at him with reproach. Age on this side of the world is not important, and she looks at her, said the brunette simply. The church trio saw the new determination in the young Kunu, which surprised them. They thought she would cry or something else, but Issei's words gave her a new determination. Something rough but efficient, said Azazel smiling. Good words, Issei-chan, Seraphol supported with typical aptitude of his. Don't call me that. The brunette said with annoyance. You are Sekiryute-sama, right? Asked the elder Tengu. That's right, said the brunette calmly. I ask you as Yasaka-sama's advisor, please. Help us find our queen, asked the elder Tengu. I'm not good at looking for people. But I will help with something, said the brunette, and then they proceeded to enter. The group made up of the Grimoire demons, the angel Irina, Seraphol Leviathan, Azazel, Roswis, Issei and Kunu with a counselor, were in a large room. Governor of fallen angels, demon queen, Sekiryute, could you help us find a way to save Princess Yasaka? No matter what, we commit to our full cooperation, asked the head of the Tengu and, at the same time, Kunu's advisor. The Tengu opened a large scroll, and in it was a portrait of a quite beautiful woman. This is the portrait of Princess Yasaka, said the Tengu pointing to the portrait. Wow. Her chestiness can rival Gabriel's, Issei thought when he saw such beauty of a woman. You have to admit it. She is very beautiful. Even Dryag, who wasn't much for praising anyone, recognizes the beauty of the Kyuubi. What we can be sure of is that the kidnappers are still in Kyoto, Azazel said seriously. Why do you think that? Zenobia asked. Because Kyoto still stands, Issei said simply. That's right. The flow of Kai in all regions of Kyoto remains stable. The nine-tailed fox is responsible for maintaining the balance of Kai flowing from different areas of this land. Kyoto itself can be considered as a large 4-scale field size. If the Kyuubi leaves this earth or is killed, then Kyoto would undergo drastic changes. Since there is no sign of that, it means that Princess Yasaka is still here and it is likely that the kidnappers are still around, Azazel explained. And she's a former member of the church and she doesn't know something as basic as that. Issei denied because of how ignorant the blue-haired girl was. Serafal, what level of investigation do the demons who were sent to the matter have? Azazel asked the Domino Queen. I have asked you to investigate in detail. The demons familiar with Kyoto have also mobilized, replied the Demon Queen. They won't find them, Issei commented, still looking at Yasaka's portrait. I already know that, but we have to do something, said Azazel, knowing what Issei was referring to. I feel out of tune. Asia whispered to Irina, who was just as lost. They will show themselves whenever they want, we just have to wait and see what happens, said the brunette as he got up from his seat. You say that very confidently, Issei-kun, what makes you believe that things will turn out like this? Irina approached. Those who don't know what they're talking about shouldn't talk, commented the brunette while he took out his cell phone. Because you're so bad, the angel complained, but Asia and Zenobia stopped her. It's not that I'm bad. I like to bother. Mage Pendragon would be very helpful at this time, yes. But she is not here and she is better this way, I don't want to bear the extreme respect of her. By the way. Your energy is still unbalanced. At this rate you won't be able to fight at 100. It may be that your physical capabilities have been improved, but that won't help if you can't control your being. Since she became a hybrid, she has been having problems on the spiritual side and energy distribution. She didn't pay much attention to it because she thought it was temporary and she was going to fix it little by little, but now that she has to fight. She doesn't know if she can win. If only I had my human body. I deny her thoughts, she couldn't do anything anymore. Even if she doesn't like it, she will have to get used to it. It seems that on this occasion it is most likely that you will participate due to the lack of manpower. Especially since you already have experience fighting against strong beings and we are going to need your power against the hero faction. It's a shame, but please be prepared for the worst. I will be responsible for contacting Kiba and the servants of Citri who are not here. Before that, please continue enjoying your trip, but we will be counting on you. In case of emergency, Issei came out of his thoughts when he heard Azazel. I beg you all. Please. Please lend us your power to save my mother. No, please, lend your power to me. I beg you, asked Kunu, holding back his tears. How cow? Are you so willing to separate a mother from her daughter? The meeting ended after clarifying a few more things. Then they returned to the human world to follow the route of the Gold Temple. Slayer of the Norse god. Issei was lying in his hotel room. A few minutes ago he had returned from dinner and now he was thinking about the whispers the outcase had said. You shouldn't think about that. I know that for a mortal it is taboo to kill or even attack a god. Personally, I feel proud that you killed a god, but you were not ready to do that yet. Having killed a god doesn't matter to me. What bothers me was the cost and the means. Issei had to give up his life as a proud human for making such an achievement. Yes, he had succumbed and given up, but he didn't like the result. He would have liked it all to end there, but the world still wanted to bother him, and now being a strange thing like a hybrid between an angel and a fallen one. Although he still doesn't understand why he is a hybrid, but it was already confirmed that he was no longer a human. His goal was to be the strongest Sekiryuite, and that achievement would have been much greater if he did it as a human, but that was no longer possible. If Izanami tells the truth, will I be able to go back in time? What crazy things are you saying? It was a crazy thought. Izanami had told me that my soul could go against time and space. For a moment it had crossed my mind to look for a way to return. But it's better not to mess with time, or everything could go wrong for me. And I wouldn't have left you. Do you know what you could do if you travel back in time? A temporary fart is the safest thing, haha. What confidence. Issei decided to sleep. Tomorrow he would continue the tour with his dear companions. Issei-kun. Issei's future dream was interrupted by Irina's sudden entrance. What's wrong? The brunette asked, turning on the light. Irina walked towards the chestnut tree's futon. She sat next to him and was silent for a moment. Are you going to tell me why you came or are you going to remain silent? The brunette asked again. What do you think of me? The angel asked slowly. Am I telling you the truth or are we still friends? The brunette said gracefully. It's a serious question, the angel shouted with a pout. Issei sighed and put on a serious look. Do you want me to tell you what I think about the Irina that grew up with me or the current one? The brunette asked seriously. Irina swallowed and timidly asked. The current one, said the angel. Well. I feel disappointed. Irina opened her eyes in surprise upon hearing the brunette's harsh words. Seeing my first friend turned into a fan was a complete disappointment, said the brunette again. But. What's wrong with having faith? The angel whispered. None. I'm not saying that faith is bad, I'm just saying that you take it to a completely different level. You spend every day saying something about Michael, if something you don't understand you say Michael, something's wrong with you, you say Michael. Michael this, Michael that. Do you know that the being you admire the most is indirectly responsible for the death of thousands of innocent people? Do you know the lives that beloved church ruined? Behind those smiles of innocence is a demon that wants to emerge at any moment. You don't know how disappointing and painful it was to see you that day in my house, dressed in church clothes, ready to throw away your life for some cowards who sent some young women to fight against a fallen angel. Cadre level. I may not have shown it at any time, but I was really worried when you almost died that day. Irina had her head down, wild tears fell down her face at Issei's words. I have no right to tell you what you should do. I still considered you my friend, but you are not the same Irina who grew up with me and the first to take my first kiss. The angel was surprised to hear the last thing. That's right, I remember, also about the 2 promises, but you broke one of them. We both promised never to separate or lose contact, and the first thing you did after that promise was leave. I understand that at that time we were still young, but you could still maintain the contact. But nothing. No call, message or letter. Nothing. I spent a year waiting for some sign. Obviously I wrote a lot of letters and gave them to my parents so I could send them to you, but they didn't know where to send them, the brunette said again, remembering his year before the event of the awakening of his sacred gear. I'm sorry. I focused on my training and I didn't think about you, Irina said between cries. Her wings had appeared and were flashing between black and white. But you're not entirely to blame. Issei lost her serious look as he grabbed Irina's face and forced her to look at him. I should have gone looking for you as soon as I could. But I was afraid of how you would react when you found out that I was the Hyoudou. Being someone who carries one of the celestial dragons, I am forced to fight. There was always someone behind me, always moving and fighting. I didn't want you to get hurt because of me. Issei caressed the angel's cheek. The flickering of Irina's wings had stopped and now remained blank. I would never have forgiven myself if something happened to you. You are one of my most precious beings, even if you have your crazy things. You are still someone I love very much. The angel was surprised by Issei's hug. I'm sorry. I got carried away and said very painful things for you. But you must understand that my perspective of heaven and the church are completely different from yours, the brunette whispered. I understand. I know that heaven and the church made their mistakes. But I still want to believe that they do good, said Irina after the hug ended. As long as they have you, things may change. Issei smiled slightly, the kind side of him had come to light. Issei-kun. Issei looked at the angel and saw how nervous she was. I would like to know. Who is this Eve person? Asked the curious angel. What? Issei thought he heard wrong and concentrated more. In your time in Grigori I was able to talk to Dahlia-san. She told me about your past with her, and Eve's name slipped out. She quickly changed the subject, but I know that this Eve person is someone you know, said the angel, while Issei closed his eyes. That silly Valkyrie. Her name is Evelyn Lyabov. She called her Eve because she was very close to me. She was one of my companions when she joined the brigade, Issei said slowly. She is. Irina left the word hanging in the air. She was killed. She died because of me, said Issei, showing his fists. Sorry for making you remember, Irina quickly regretted having asked. Don't apologize. It's something that already happened and can't be remedied, said Issei, sighing. Would you like to tell me? The angel asked timidly. It's too long to tell, and tomorrow we have to get up early, said Issei, and the angel pouted. Come on. Go to your room and get out of my suite. Issei settled back into her futon, but didn't wait for Irina to get in too. What are you doing? Asked the brunette. Isn't it obvious? I'll sleep with you, like when we were kids, was Irina's simple response as she got closer to the brunette. We're not children anymore. Who knows what he could do to you while he's asleep, said Issei, knowing that it wasn't a good idea. If it's you. I wouldn't mind, said the angel. Don't blame me. Issei turned off the light and turned his back on the angel, who hugged the brunette from behind her. It's going to be a long night. Issei could perfectly feel the angel's breasts, but not having a shirt. My name is Kunu and I will be your guide around Arashiyama. It was already a new day in Kyoto. The supernatural students plus Kiryu and the perverted duo had gotten up early to go to their next place of visit. The destined place was Tenyuji, the temple of the celestial dragon, which is in Arashiyama. When they arrived, Kunu received them. Oh, a pretty girl. Kiryu threw himself into hugging Kunu. Don't treat me so familiar, humble woman, Kunu complained while Kiryu rubbed his face with the girl. She even talks like a high-born girl. How cute. Kunu's complaints fell on deaf ears. So, you came. Issei pushed a brunette with glasses to Kunu's gratitude. I said I would be her guide as payment for that day, said Kunu while smiling when she had Issei's attention. I don't remember that. The brunette tried to remember that part, but nothing. It was just when we were talking about Cao. Dryag said, and Issei nodded. Well. I was already here, but I will receive your guide, said Issei, and Kunu nodded excitedly. And what's wrong with this one? They had stopped the tour at a food house. Issei watched as Irina blushed every time they made eye contact. Hahaha, and what makes you laugh? Issei was confused by Dryag's sudden laughter. Your sleep is very heavy, you have moved a lot the night before, and let's say that you did an examination of your friend the angel's body. Issei opened his eyes as he remembered how he woke up that morning. He had fallen asleep with Irina, but when he woke up she was no longer there. Oh. That explains why she blushes. Well, I had told him it wasn't a good idea. Issei shrugged and turned his attention back to his food. Ah. There here someone sat at the table next to Issei's, it was Hyoudou. What's up, the brunette greeted. Do they come from Tenryuji? The Gremory Knight asked and Issei nodded. Yes, quite boring, but the nonsense of the pair of fools helped me distract myself, the brunette responded, remembering how he kicked the four-eyed pervert for trying to take a photo of Kunu. Enjoying the day? Someone else joined the conversation. Isn't it too early for you to be drinking? Asked the brunette. At the table in front of Issei was Azazel drinking sake. I told him the same thing. It is very irresponsible to drink when you are a teacher. Roswis was also in the place and claimed the fallen person for his actions. Relax. You should enjoy the moment, that's why you don't have a boyfriend, Azazel said the magic words. This has nothing to do with boyfriends. Don't make fun of me if you're going to drink, I'll do it too. Roswis took the glass from Azazel and quickly drank the contents. Why do I feel like something very similar happened a long time ago? Last year, Friday night, older Valkyrie without alcohol resistance and you almost lost your virginity. Ah. And that's what you remember, but not the important things. Details. Issei sighed at what the dragon was like. Pua. Your action is not appropriate, Roswis tried to say after drinking the contents of Azazel's glass. Are you drunk from just one glass? Said a surprised Azazel, while Roswis poured herself another glass. Could it be in his genes that he has little resistance to alcohol? Issei asked himself when he saw Roswis's act. I'm not a fool, I've been with him since I became old Odin's bodyguard. That's what I remember, that old man. I had to work so hard taking care of him during his travels, but like an idiot, or what you say is shit. Ashi and Asha liquor greased shin, no shay mouse. The authors Valkyrius and Valhalla told me that I was the servant of a old fool with my poor salary, I still had to help him with his things every day. It's all his fault. Because I don't have a boyfriend, the Frien duo Roswis started crying, while he kept saying words that didn't make much sense. I better go. Said Issei as she slowly left the food house. The 100 yen shops are the best. Hahaha was the last thing Issei heard and then quickly left that place. That young lady really made a fuss, said Kunu as he walked next to Issei. Normally it's calm, but alcohol changes people a lot, Issei commented as he watched in front of him as the church trio, Kiryu, and the perverted duo seemed to be discussing something before crossing a bridge. By the way. How come you are a being with 3 essences? Kunu asked. You mean my dragon essence, angel and fallen? Said Issei curiously. In part. The dragonic and the sacred are one of them, I also feel something evil. It is not the same as the governor of the fallen, it is almost the same energy that the demons release. That Issei got confused. Let me see if I understand. You say I have something demonic in me? Issei asked in disbelief. That's right. The dragon essence is the one that has the most strength, the sacred and evil are balanced with the dragonic, thus creating a coexistence in your being. Although your soul is human, but it is not like the ones I have seen before. Kunu said confused, but the most affected was Issei, who had smoke coming out of his head. So small and so smart. But her explanation worries me a little. Issei was thinking at full capacity, what Kunu said intrigued him more than she was before. Now more than ever she must question Azazel. This feeling. Issei stopped suddenly as he felt something very familiar to him. He looked around, Kiryu, the perverted duo, and all the students around the place had disappeared. Altogether the brunette ordered. Immediately the trio from the church joined Issei and Kunu. Hyoudou, who was a little away from them, also approached the group. The fog began to form in front of the group. They're here. Get ready, Issei said seriously. The swordsmen armed themselves with their respective weapons. Asia stood next to Kunu and created a magical field around her. Issei simply concentrated to have all his senses on alert. It seems that they decided to show their face. Azazel made his presence known and floated with his wings above the young people. His ability with his longinus grew to the point of being able to drag us to another sealed space. As expected of a longinus, commented Issei. The soldier we found dying said that same fog appeared before they attacked them, Kunu said, stealing her courage. Issei quickly appeared his bow and blocked the tip of the spear. It's been a while. Hyoudou Issei. From the fog appeared a young man dressed in a Chinese high school uniform. He had black hair and blue eyes. In his hands, there was a golden spear that had extended a few meters until it collided with Issei's bow. Cao Cao. The brunette said with hatred. The now Cao Cao smiled and removed the spear from him. It is a pleasure to meet the governor of the fallen angels and the members of Gremory. My name is Cao Cao, a member of the heroes faction belonging to the brigade. Cao Cao introduced himself. Many men and women appeared next to him, all armed. "Silly name for stupid people," said Issei, taking a step, and that caused those accompanying Cao Cao to take a step back. "You are still as intimidating as ever." Cao Cao was the only one who did not back away from the pressure that Issei released. "And you are so scared," Issei said with a half smile, but his eyes still conveyed bloodlust. "Everyone, don't let that spear touch you. It's very dangerous," Azazel warned. "Irina, Zenobia, Asia. Don't look at the spear," said Issei, watching as the church trio were left in a trance when they saw the spear. The trio came out of their trance because Hyoudou shook Irina and Zenobia, Kunu shook Asia, and thus the three returned to their senses. "What do you plan to do with Yusaka?" Issei asked, very sure that it was Cao Cao who kidnapped her. "We want the Kyuubi's cooperation for an experiment," said Cao Cao, simply and provoking Kunu's anger. "Return the Kyuubi. We plan to join forces with the Yaokai, and you are bothering." Azazel created a spear of light and pointed it at Cao Cao. "And Roswis?" the brunette asked, worried since Dahlia had left him in charge of her daughter. "That woman. She fell asleep after making a big fuss. I left her in the food house surrounded by a barrier. I hope that's okay," said Azazel as she let out a sigh. "Eyes, they may be human but don't underestimate them, they are not normal people," Issei warned with a serious tone. "Leonardo," said Cao Cao, and a young man with dark skin and red eyes took a step forward. "That's new." Issei was put on guard when he saw Cao Cao's new partner. The young man named Leonardo raised his hand and instantly multiple monster-like beings surrounded Issei and the rest. "Annihilation Maker," Azazel said with surprise. "Another Longinus. Spear of Destiny, Lost Dimension and now Annihilation Maker. This just got good. Special one. The one who is lurking. Start the cap. I told you not to go near him. I wanted to see him in person once and I won't talk to him," said a young woman of 20 years old, long blood red hair which was tied in a high ponytail. Her clothing could not be seen since she had a colored robe. "Black. They can sense you if you get too close." She noticed an emerald-colored sphere floating next to the woman. "Do you not trust my abilities?" "How sad my own teacher does not trust my abilities," said the woman exaggeratedly. "I trust your abilities, don't doubt that. But it's not yet time for you to meet him," she said, the voice from the sphere. "Well. But I don't like that girl who is with him," said the woman, seeing a brunette who was training a reed, but it was not the same shade of red as her, the one with the young woman she was with. His chestnut was crimson and hers was scarlet. "You'll have to hold on. She will be with him all the time, others will be the same. I don't like him. He should only be with his kind and not with those beings." "He preferred the human more," the scarlet-haired girl said seriously. "You know he's still half human. But he will soon be one of our kind," answered the woman. "If that doesn't change halfway. But we still have the insurance." "I just hope it doesn't come to that," said the woman touching her ring. "That will depend on what this place is like. There are many possibilities." The woman sighed when she heard her teacher. I just kept silent and she continued observing the young brunette. "Ah, that bravery when facing the second strongest being. I love it," exclaimed the scarlet-haired woman, seeing the brunette facing Office Ouroboros. "You shouldn't be here. Office may find you. I was able to deceive the third eye of the god Shiba. I think I can hide from her," the woman said confidently. "Ah, he's behind you." The scarlet-haired girl became nervous when she felt a stare behind her. "Who are you?" An emotionless voice was heard. "No one you might be interested in," said the scarlet-haired girl, turning around to see the infinite being. "I didn't ask you," said Office, seeing the emerald sphere floating next to the woman. "Nobody you should know," she said, the voice of the sphere. "You release a very familiar aura," Office commented without looking away from the sphere. The scarlet-haired woman was internally nervous, she was not yet ready to face a being of the caliber of an infinite being. "Issei." Office tilted her head when she saw the sphere that immediately glowed and disappeared next to the woman. "Let me help him," the scarlet-haired woman shouted with concern, watching a red dragon fight against a divine class being. "I told you it's not time yet, he must get over this," she said, the voice of the sphere holding the woman back. The scarlet-haired girl bit her lip in frustration watching the great dragon chase the god. She trusts his will. The great flash occurred in the distance and then the fighting stopped. A few moments later a large explosion of aura occurred and the sky turned crimson. "What a great quality of aura," said the woman surprised. "From now on everything begins." She goes to the assigned point and prepares the safety. The woman nodded and quickly moved away, only 2 unconscious men were left in the place. She had waited hours in the assigned place, waiting in front of a tank where there was a body floating. "How strange. It should be here already." He commented on the sphere's voice and from his tone, he was confused. "Do you think he survived?" the woman asked. Her vitality was gone. Her soul should be here. The woman and the being in the sphere were confused by the events that had occurred and not occurred. "Unforgivable, how dare they do that to him," the scarlet-haired woman shouted with fury, seeing a chestnut tree from afar. On the young man's back there were 2 types of wings, one white and the other black. "This is unexpected." said the being of the sphere. Let me fix it, said the woman, preparing to carry out a kidnapping. One moment. The woman stopped when she heard her teacher. Now change is impossible. His soul is unstable. It's surprising that the idea of those two works, but the consequences of him leaking will be very problematic, and it seems that he doesn't even know what he is. The emerald sphere said. Then we have to continue observing. This is already boring, the woman said with a sigh. We have to go back. You still have to train to be able to help him. Well, said the scarlet-haired girl, looking at the brunette for the last time and then disappearing. Chapter 29. Start the cap. Are you sure about this, Riaz? Akeno asked, looking at the being in front of her. Of course, Azazel and my brother have given me permission, they even improved it to be smaller, said an excited Riaz, also looking at the being in front of her. But he has no intelligence, whispered the Gremory Queen. That is an offense to me, Miss Himejima, the being said in a polite tone. Can you speak? Akeno was surprised by the being's response. I was enhanced to the level that I can interact freely with any intelligent being. I was also programmed to help and serve Ria's Gremory and her nobility, said the being again. Haha. I won it in a rock, paper, scissors match against Sikvera. She was very excited to have it, but I won, the Redeed said triumphantly. You're drooling, but you, the Gremory Nekomata said in an expressionless tone. Ah. Well, what we came for. Riaz compassed herself and advanced towards the being in front of her, while he took out 8 pawn pieces. Won't you put on your armor? Cao asked Issei. The fight had already begun. Issei let Azazel and the demons take care of the others while he fought with Cao. Until now neither of them had been able to harm the other. I don't need it, Issei answered as he returned to exchanging blows with Cao. The aura of the spear is hurting you, just like Dryag said. The aura released by Cao's spear was hurting him slightly, but in the long run it would take its toll. Issei increased his strength, used his bow and hit as if it were a great hammer. Cao covered himself with his spear and was forced to his knees by the force of the blow. Issei unleashed a kick that went to the chest of the kneeling Cao. He could not dodge the blow that would surely break something, but a magical circle of protection saved him and he was able to separate himself from Issei. I owe you, Georg, said Cao to the human wizard who was in the rear. The bride and groom always take care of each other's asses. Issei launched himself again towards Cao, thus initiating an exchange of blows again. The long Ina spear was strong, but Issei's bow could withstand a lot. They were both going quite fast, Cao with his technique and Issei with his reflexes and strength. This is taking longer than necessary. Cao's breathing was already beginning to be noticeable. The fight had already been going on for 30 minutes, and at the level he was going, he had to use all of his strength and speed to keep up with the chestnut who looked fresh as a lettuce. On the other side of the small battlefield, the Gremory demon strategically fought against the monsters created by the Annihilation Maker. Asia provided magical support to Zenobia and Arena while she was inside a protective dome with Kunu. The blonde knight was fighting a white-haired man who introduced himself as Siegfried. Hyoudou was having a hard time against the white-haired man. Show me more, Gremory Knight. Siegfried took out another sword from his clothes and put more pressure on the blonde who was forced to retreat. Zenobia, help, Kibas, and Arena shouted as she created another sword of light and used it to block the claws of one of the monsters. The blue-haired girl nodded and quickly went to hers, just like her and the white-haired boy. He is more than enough to go against him. I will have to do my part. Azazel, who had been observing Issei's battle against Cao, decided to attack the creator of the dimension. He quickly created a gigantic spear of light and launched it at monster speed towards the human mage. I'll take care of it. A large shadow appeared in front of Georg and the large spear of light was devoured by the shadow. Another sacred gear. It's the one Gasper told me about. Azazel created multiple spears and bombarded the human who was protecting the bearer of the lost dimension. Cao was already tired. He underestimated the endurance of the chestnut who was still in top form. You can surpass me in technique, but in endurance you can't even compare to me. Issei continued to press and forced Cao to be on the defensive. Will I have to use it? Cao assessed his situation. Once again he had underestimated Issei, and again there was the possibility of losing against him. He saw his companion slightly. Georg was doing his best to hold out against Azazel. Siegfried was fighting against the two Gremory Knights and had the chance to win. Leonardo was doing it good with your monsters. I won't let you have it that easy. The true Longinus shined brightly. Issei distanced himself as he felt how that shine hurt him more. This feeling. Balance breaker. I'll have to force the boosted gear to keep up. Issei appeared in boosted gear, ready to enter the forced balance breaker. You and Volley are a nuisance in my plans. The glow of the spear became more intense. Your plans are nonsense. You will end up dead sooner or later, and I hope it is by my own hand, Issei said seriously. I made the mistake of underestimating you. But now I'll stop playing games. Cao disappeared in an instant. Issei opened his eyes in surprise when he saw the increase in speed. His instincts took control of his body, and he used his bow in the form of a shield to barely stop Cao's deadly thrust. That is new. The brunette saw how the aura that previously surrounded the true longinus was now surrounding Cao Cao. It's the same thing you used before the dragonic conversion began. Ryag was right, Cao Cao was using his longinus's characteristic aura to increase his abilities for a short time. Heh. You just broke your beloved rule. Issei pushed Cao Cao with the explosion of the boosted gear. They were both going to attack each other again, but a magic circle appeared in the middle of their battle zone. And why is she here? The magic circle was well known to Issei, and he waited patiently for the owner to emerge from it. Hello, a 15-year-old girl had appeared on the battlefield. The girl had wavy blonde hair, blue eyes, a blue hat with yellow stars, a cape that matched the hat, and was wearing a kind of school uniform. Faye. The brunette whispered. Issei Sama, the young blonde, jumped towards the brunette and hugged him tightly. This is not a good time. Issei did not take his eyes off Cao Cao, who took advantage of the young blonde's intervention to regroup with her companions. The Faye Pendragon. What is a member of Volley's team doing in these places? Said a serious Cao Cao. Oh, I brought a message from Volley Sama. I thought I told you not to bother me. That was the message, said the Naula Faye after separating from Issei. Are you so afraid of him? Issei said with amusement, and Cao Cao made a furious expression but quickly calmed down. For now I will withdraw. Cao Cao did not finish speaking because someone suddenly caught everyone's attention. Passion Musho Noisy. A drunk Roswis appeared on the battlefield. Like father. Such a splinter. Dryag finished Issei's sentence as she quickly went towards Roswis in case Cao Cao decided to attack her. Oh ish. How cute. The Valkyrie clung to the brunette's back while she ran her hands over the chest of a slightly blushing Issei. Hyoudou Issei, the aforementioned, paid attention to his enemies who were little by little surrounded by the mist of the lost dimension. We will continue our fight tonight. By the way, we are going to use Kyoto's Lee lines and the Kyuubi leader, and there will be an experiment in Niju Castle. Come if you want to stop us. Saying those words, Cao Cao and his group disappeared into the fog. We're back in the normal world. Put away your weapons, Azazel warned, and everyone quickly put away their weapons and deactivated their powers. How cute. Do you want your pretty teacher to scare you? Roswis continued hugging the brunette, who sighed and hit the back of the Valkyrie's head. She fell asleep and was carried by Issei. The battle had ended, the faction of heroes had retreated, but not before giving notice of their next meeting. What the hell are you planning with the Lee lines? Issei narrowed his eyes, thinking about what Cao Cao was planning. My head hurts. Roswis whispered as she rested her head on the brunette's shoulder. She was already getting dark in Kyoto. The supernatural students, Azazel and Roswis, had returned to the hotel after finishing the tour. After eating and showering, the supernatural group plus the two teachers were gathered in Issei's room. Valkyrie taken advantage. Irina pouted as she watched Roswis cling more to Issei. In trouble again? Vritra said to Issei, who sighed. You see. It's my day-to-day. Issei shrugged his shoulders to Roswis's annoyance. Does anyone know what's going to happen? Zenobia asked, looking at the holographic map in the center of the room. I have no idea. But it must be something bad, Azazel answers, also looking at the map. And what's the plan? Hyoudou asked seriously, the defeat that same afternoon still bothered him. Well. Azazel stopped to think for a moment. Issei took out a notebook that said plans and paid attention to the fallen man. First of all, there are the Citri servers. They are going to be on guard around Kyoto Station. Protecting this hotel is their job. The hotel itself already has a reinforced barrier, so if something happens, there will be insurance. However, if any suspicious person enters, the servants of Citri will be responsible for handling the situation. Azazel began, and those of the Citri nobility nodded. Next is the Grimoire group, Issei, Irina and Roswis. I'm really sorry for putting you all in the same place all the time, but you will be the main vanguard. In a short time, you will advance towards Niju Castle. We have more advantages knowing a little about our capabilities thanks to today's encounter and information from Issei. Your first priority is to rescue Princess Yusaka. Once you succeed, take her out immediately. After all, they have already announced that they are using Princess Yusaka for an experiment. However, there is a high probability that that was a hoax, although with Cao Cao's attitude, that could be true. Maybe that was the reason why he was so eager to that we are involved, Azazel said again. The Grimoire nobility put on serious looks, but Hyoudou and Zenobia barely asked to keep up with Siegfried. Roswis saw Issei's notebook and put on a poker face. In the notebook was a TT, and below it was written, "Book the fools who think they are heroes." I asked Vritra. He will be of more help to me than the frustrated swordsman, Issei commented calmly. Hyoudou and Zenobia looked at the brunette, who ignored them completely. I was already thinking of sending Vritra as support. Azazel said, and Vritra nodded. Facing the true Longinus will be interesting, said the Dragon King with a little emotion. There will also be more reinforcements, Azazel added. I hope they are helpful, said Issei. They are anti-terrorist experts, I assure you that they will be helpful, assured Azazel. Unfortunately. I was only able to get 3 Phoenix tears. I know they are few and more with the powerful enemies you will face, but the Phoenix family has been very busy with the demands of the tiers. In fact, the entire family has gathered to double production, said Azazel, seeing the worried faces of those who would fight at the front, not counting Vritra and Issei, who were worth it. That's why that Sundir didn't come back. Did he? I have fun when they fight. Issei now knew why Revel didn't come back. Do the other factions know about this? Irina asked. That's right. Seraphol, the demons, the angels, the fallen and the yokai are surrounding all of Kyoto if someone comes out. Let's say a magical girl will make them fly, said Azazel with a half smile. We also have the support of Sona and the rest of his nobility in case something happens, Azazel added. Ibuchu knows about this, said a nervous Asia. Zenobia and Hyoudou also got a little nervous, none of them had said anything to their king. I tried to inform him, but a disturbance has occurred in the Grimoire domain. Riaz went to the underworld to help. He also said something about his new piece, said Azazel. The Grimoire nobility was surprised to know that they had another companion. Even the strongest queen is in that place. I also heard that the Grimoire matriarch joined them. I fear for the idiots who started the conflict, Azazel whispered with a fearful expression. Well, I don't have to worry if Grafia is there. Wait. Why did she worry me? Issei shook his head at the thoughts of him. He doesn't care what that Ridita Taku does. What you say? Dryag did not hesitate to mock the bearer of him, who growled in annoyance. The meeting in Issei's room had ended. Those who will go directly to the enemy base had agreed to meet in the hotel lobby. In the room was the trio from the church, who were sitting in an armchair talking about the upcoming confrontation. Vritra was sleeping peacefully, and her noble companions were stroking her head. Like a pet, Azazel was talking about something with Roswis until he saw the brunette and approached him. Follow me, the fallen man simply said, walking to a room that Issei knew was that of those who worked there. Show me your wings, said Azazel after closing the door and putting an isolation spell. Issei, somewhat confused, spread his wings. I thought it would last longer, said the fallen one, watching as the feathers of Issei's fallen wing fell to the ground. It's normal. No, said a nervous Issei, watching how each black feather fell to the ground, and after a while he was left without any. I should have thought more about the duration. The time will have been shortened by some factor that I didn't take. Azazel was in his thoughts before Issei's impatient gaze. What does this mean? Issei once again called the fallen man's attention, and he sighed when he saw the now demon wing that Issei had. You see, I lied to you, and I also lied to the rest of the leaders, except Ajuka, who helped me with everything, Azazel said seriously. Continue. Issei sat in a chair in the room while Azazel searched for words so that Issei would understand well. The half-fallen thing was just a cover to hide the king's piece that Ajuka and I used to bring you back, Azazel said, intrigued to the brunette. Wait. The king's piece is only supposed to be given to high-class demons, and these are not useful for reincarnation, Issei said, the doubt of him. That's where Gabriel's ace comes in. We use the reincarnation factor of the ace with the power of the king piece, which is not just a simple evil piece, it's an improved one. I can't tell you all the details. Not for now, but everything we did was to protect you until you have enough influence so that the demonic council doesn't bother you, he explained as best he could for someone as limited as Issei. And what do I have to do with the council? Issei said, exasperated by his new situation. You will know later, for now keep this a secret. Azazel calmed and Issei sighed, with thousands of doubts in his head. And how do you explain the fallen man's aura and the wing? Issei asked, knowing that the fallen man would not tell him anything more about the previous topic. Not peacefully. That's easy, an advanced aura and glue modification spell, the fallen man answered calmly before Issei's blank stare. Gabriel knows this, said Issei after processing what the fallen man explained to him. Nope. And he doesn't have to know, not for now, the fallen man said nervously. In short, now you could say that I am a hybrid. Issei let out a big sigh as he sank into the chair. That's right, that's why I called you a hybrid that time. Actually, it was unintentional, it had escaped me, but I quickly fixed it with a mysterious story. Don't let me fool you, ha 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 ha. Azazel laughed beautifully at the look Issei's poker game. Why not tell Serziches and Michael? Issei asked another of his doubts. If Serziches had known, I don't doubt that he would have a happy birthday face every time he sees you. Something could also have happened that could harm you, knowing what it is like, said Azazel, thinking about what the red-haired Siskin would have done when he knew that Issei was half demon. That redeed really fits the title of Lucifer. As for Michael, let's say that for the ace to work on you, I had to make a slight adjustment to the system. Issei opened his eyes in surprise when he knew that Azazel put his hands on the system. Juju, that Michael forgets that I can achieve things when I really set my mind to it, the fallen man laughed evilly while Issei denied. Anyway, 25% demon, 25% angel and 50% dragon. Congratulations, now you can compete with Volley since, so to speak, you are a miracle, said Azazel in a funny way. I don't like any of this, claimed the brunette. Calm down. Just because you are now a half-demon does not mean that you have to answer to them, let's say that your status is special, but I'm telling you again, keep it a secret until I tell you, the fallen man said calmly. I feel used. The brunette whispered, ruffling his hair. I know you feel bad about all this, I don't want to imagine how your pride must be. But you are the personification of the biblical alliance, an ex-human with sacred gear, turned into a half-domin angel, thanks to the cooperation of the fallen. You are also someone neutral on your part dragon. You are the perfect pillar to maintain balance in the alliance. Azazel could half understand how the young brunette felt. Heh. I went from being free to a simple symbol to prevent three sides from returning to war. How happy I am, the brunette said sarcastically. I know it sounds bad. But look at it as a new opportunity to start. I can't tell you that you will be able to go around doing what you want, but I assure you that you will be as free as possible. You have my word, and I will do everything possible to you can be comfortable, said the fallen man sincerely as he put his hand on the brunette's shoulder. I only ask for one thing, the brunette whispered, but the fallen one heard him perfectly. I will do everything possible, just say it, said Azazel while waiting for the brunette's request. That my parents are completely safe, that's the only thing I ask, said the brunette seriously. That was assured long before Issei nodded and got up from his seat. I will keep the secret until it is necessary. I will go get some air. Issei walked to the door, but Azazel stopped him. Before you go out. Here the fallen man gave a grey gem with an emerald center to Issei, who looked at him confused. There is your potential. Ajuka discovered it when he modified your piece, only now was he able to finish it so that it fits well with your piece, the ace and your boosted gear, the fallen man explained before Issei asked. Is that why the door disappeared? Your energy is in the gem. But it is a perfect balance between demonic power, sacred power and yours. The boosted gear appeared without Issei's call and absorbed the gem. System reset. Dryag and Issei were surprised to hear Sia's voice. Error. System at 80%. Looking for a safe way to proceed. The boosted gear disappeared before the watchful eyes of Azazel and Issei. Did something happen? Asked the fallen man. Apparently he did not hear Sia's voice. The pot broke. Well. It was already broken when I woke it up. See you at the time of the attack on the idiots who call themselves heroes, the brunette said simply, leaving the room. I take it quite well. On the ceiling of the room there was a magic circle of communication. The one who spoke was Ajuka Beelzebub. According to what Dahlia said and the little I got to know him, the boy is quite adaptable to everything that happens around him. Obviously he has his difficulties, commented the fallen man. It will be entertaining to see how the modification I gave to your piece works. What did you do to him? The fallen man asked. I gave him freedom, but that said, the magic circle disappeared. Freedom, huh? The fallen man whispered and then also left the room. And now what? Issei whispered, watching the stars from the rooftop of the Surzich's hotel. Nothing. Just let yourself go, it will be easier to think about it. Maintaining the balance between the alliance. Angel, demon and dragon. I had already resigned myself to losing my humanity, but it's still hard to believe. The brunette thought about Azazel's words and again about the situation he was in. Well. Look on the bright side, and that is, you will be able to do your stupid things without the fear of your human morality intervening. I try to animate the dragon. You know, I still don't see the world the way you and Afa see it. I still think like a human. And that's why you keep coming back to the same topic over and over again. And what do you want me to do? Let it continue normally as always? Yes. But, knowing what you are, you won't make it so easy. Issei remained silent. I look at his phone, it's time to go buck cow. I sigh and jump off the roof. Brai-chan, kick those tails that ruined our trip, Hanakai exclaimed in support. That's right, Brai-chan. We already agreed to go shopping for souvenirs for Kaichu tomorrow, Kusaka added. Britra, show the terrorists the will of Citri servants, said Yura, squeezing her fists. Try not to overdo it, Meguri said calmly. Citri servants encouraged the Dragon King, who smiled for the good companions he had. Where is Issei-kun? Irina asked. Here he comes. Vritra looked up and everyone saw how wild Issei fell quickly. Good entry, Azazel commented. My knee. Issei whispered, moving his knee after making the famous hero landing. 7 points, I'd give you more if not. Why, Erasmus had given him the score, but he quickly ran to vomit. Issei sighed, he saw the blinds. Those who would accompany him and sighed. Of all those who were going, only Vritra and Roswas could be of help. He has no doubt that the demons Gremory and Irina would be strong at one time, but currently they are not much help against the hero faction. My preciosa Zenobia caught the brunette's attention. He saw her hugging a bundle with a face of slight excitement. What is that? Issei asked the blue-haired girl who composed herself. It's Durandal. Before the trip I sent her to improve so that she can better control her aura, said the Gremory knight, showing her sword. Issei grabbed it out of curiosity at the blank stare of the rest. But balance. Too bad you ruined it with other parts. Issei moved the weapon almost masterfully, releasing a calm but powerful aura. Our ruin. Zenobia asked when she received the sword. If you can't control her aura it means you're not worthy of her yet, but well. It's your choice, said Issei simply. Zenobia lowered her head, it seems that the brunette's words really hit her hard. Hey, pretty boy, Issei called to Hyoudou, who paid attention to the brunette. Put armor on your arms, chest and legs, those are the places Siegfried normally targets. Irina, try to stay away from Siegfried and attack with light spears. Zenobia, support Kiba. Asia, tell me all your capabilities, he said, and asked for the brown one. Ah. I can heal from a distance, I can create several magical shields, and I can defend myself a little in melee, the ex-nun quickly reported. You will stay with Roswis, she will attack from a distance with her varied magic, while you give her support, Issei said, and they both nodded. Britra, I need you to support the swordsmen if they do poorly, if anyone sees Yasaka, they immediately take her and leave. There may be more opponents, if so, I will try to accommodate them again or you do it, any doubt. The catalog said again. Everyone remained silent when receiving the chestnut tree's orders. No. Well, let's kick those idiots, said Issei as she began to walk towards the bus stop to go to Niju Castle. Everyone was still quiet watching Issei walk. Azazel came out of surprise and smiled at her. You heard. Issei will be the king and leader who will command them, the important thing is Yasaka, then he is defeating the heroes, said Azazel. Sekiryuite the brunette stopped his walk towards the bus station upon hearing his title. Behind him were the demons Gremory, Irina, Vritra and Roswis. Kunu? What are you doing here? Just as Issei said it, Kunu came running. I want to help in the rescue, said the young Yaokai determinedly. Are you sure? It won't be a nice place we're going to, the brunette warned. Isn't this the moment where he says he can't because he's dangerous? Asia whispered to Zenobia, who shrugged. The Biblical Alliance asks for cooperation and, being the temporary leader, I must help in any way I can, Kunu said determinedly. Well, Issei said simply, returning to her walk. Eh? Kunu expected more resistance but nothing. Come on, it's not far away, Issei warned without turning around. My mother is right. It's very strange, commented Roswis after vomiting. My head still hurts. That's what happens to you for thinking about that stupid strategy that you know will not work. Issei rubbed his forehead to ease her pain, but dry eye didn't help. What was missing? Issei hit his forehead as he saw how he and those following him were surrounded by a mist. A strategy to the dashboard, Issei shouted, watching how he appeared in the tunnel of some subway station. I told you, let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.